Tip today in association with Slattery's of Pecan, your main Peugeot dealer for over 50 years in the Premier County. Slattery'sGarage.ie.
Good morning, welcome along to Tip Today, 1800 938 007. That's the free phone number if you want to make a call to us, and Leanne is producing today. Coming up on the show, Johnny Luby will reign supreme in a few moments' time. Who was this mystical character, St Bridget? Mary Alice will talk to us about that. Controversy in Cashel about the arrangements for the 2026 St Patrick's Day Parade. We have some clarity on that from Martin Brown in this hour. Bernie Goldbach on American foreign policy and indeed domestic policy as well. Controversial board games, that conversation continues on. And our Friday panel will unpack the hot topics of the week. So all of that and more on the way. You can text and WhatsApp 083 311 3311. You can email tiptoday@tipfm.com. Let's have a look at the front pages of some of your newspapers. The Irish Daily Mail and their lead story from Helen Bruce. Michael Flatley has pledged to stage the greatest show ever in Dublin next week after overturning a court order that had barred him from interfering with the upcoming Lord of the Dance tour. The Irish Independent, the lead story on the Indo today, a €2.5 billion repair scheme for up to 100,000 defective Celtic Tiger apartments will be brought to the Dáil in the coming months. The government is planning to significantly strengthen an earlier version of the law, setting up the scheme ahead of a Dáil vote to take place before the summer. To the Irish Times. And the lead story on the Times today, some of the country's biggest home builders have warned the government its proposed rental sector reforms are unconstitutional and threaten legal action if ministers fail to engage with them. Also on the Times today, climate change made this week's floods almost 3 times more likely to occur, and that analysis by Maynooth University and Met Éireann. And again, that's Michael Flatley stories on the front of the Times today as well. Finally, a look at the Irish Examiner. And the lead story there, the government faces its ultimate housing test to have at least 20,000 new homes completed in the first half of this year, if it is to make up for the falling short, indeed, of the target it's set for 2025. Now, that's according to housing experts reacting to figures from the CSO showing just 36,284 homes were built last year. And also on the Examiner today, we're reading that Tom Homan, newly installed as commander of US President Donald Trump's immigration enforcement surge in Minneapolis, has said the federal agents will now focus on targeted operations, shifting away from the broad street sweeps that have drawn such outrage, and we'll be talking to Bernie Goldbach about that in the next hour of the programme. Also on the Examiner today, and it's a very worrying story indeed, 1 in 12 Irish youths aged 15 to 19 have attempted suicide at some point in their lifetime, while more than a tenth have repeatedly self-harmed. That's according to a new report. Let's look at what's making the front pages today. If you'd like to comment on any of that, once again, you can text and WhatsApp 083 311 3311. It's time for Johnny Luby. Good morning, Johnny. How are you?
Flying. Absolutely flying, Trent.
Yeah, Leanne told me you're in flying form for some reason or other, Johnny.
Oh, yeah, well, of course, with the Greyhound Festival on in Powellstown Park and at the Clonmel track there for the 3-4 days, that is unbelievable. There's over 300,000 in prize money, so it's certainly the place to be by day, and at the dog track by night. They're expecting huge crowds there, so to put anybody in good form, really.
Will you be there yourself?
Yeah, Fran, I'm hoping to, if I can't go, I'll be sending a photo of myself. They'll be putting it up someplace along the way. Of course, please God, we certainly will be there, and that hopefully to wish them the very best of luck, because the weather has been very unfavourable, Fran, for the last I suppose since the 1st of January, it was a desperate wet month.
It's very wet indeed, and that's for sure. To hurling then, and Tipp defeating Galway in the senior hurling
That's
league
right, Jeff.
kick-off, Johnny.
In desperate conditions down in Tullis, they performed admirably. They showed plenty of guts, heart and determination, and that's what he wanted to see. And he'll have a big one again this weekend when they travel to Offaly. People would want to look and find out first, will the match be on in such a venue and that. But looked at a great victory for them, got off to a good start, and they're in the middle of serious training, so the best of luck to Liam and Kyle and all his
that's for sure. The footballers were over in London as well, and they drew
right.
there, yeah.
They drew in London, and looked as a good draw for them in the end. Was it a pint lost or a pint gained? I don't know, but look, they had to get on with it. And this weekend they're at home to Antrim in Tullis. Antrim will be hard enough to beat. They're in Division 4, so they certainly would like to come up into Division 3. But I suppose, friend, the highlights of the week in the football was Clonmel High School in the Munster A Senior Schools Cup Finals. It's a brilliant achievement, absolutely fantastic, and great augurs well for Tipperary football when Clonmel. I think they were one of the very first, or the first team ever to win this. Munster Colleges back nearly 100 years ago, and they haven't won it since. So look, they're up against the might of the Kerry boys, and but the very best of luck to them. I presume everybody that's anybody will go to the final. I think it might be on in Mallow, but again, you'll have to check all these things. That's on in a week's time. And of course, the Abbey CBS in Tipp Town, they're in the Munster B football final, and fair play to them. It's a brilliant achievement as well. And the ladies, Camogie, Tipp win the under-16 Munster final. They also win the minor B final. And St Anne's Secondary School in Tipp Town, they win the Munster Intermediate Schools final in the Camogie. So a brilliant win for them. And Tipp also win the minor shield final. Now we had Upper Church Drumban, who have had a marvellous year. They beat Drummondinch in the under-21A final, and heartiest congratulations to them. Another cause for celebration, as if they bloody well needed it up there. But this was and then of course I think today St Joseph's of Borrisoleigh, they played the Munster C final in the senior hurling. The best of luck to them. I think that match is fixed for Feather today. They take on the might of Dungarvan CBS, and of course the blue ribbon of Munster College's hurling, Nina CBS, take on the might of St Flannan's, who are the kingpins of Munster hurling. It's brilliant for Tipperary to have for the fourth year in a row to be in a Harty Cup final. And of course Golden Kilfeacle play down in a place called Knockaderry in Limerick to take on Clooney Quinn of Clare in the Munster Junior B football. And next weekend, Silvermines, they're in the Munster B Junior hurling final, so the best of luck to them all.
Well done indeed. Ireland, of course, have it all to do where the rugby is concerned, Johnny.
That's right, Jeff, and they have it all to do. I mean, like they're taking on France in France, a very hard place to go and win. They have horses and men playing, and of course Bundy Aki got reprimanded there during the week.
Is he out? Is he out for that game? Is he out for?
I think he's out for a month, but it's like everything else with the injuries Ireland have. He could be back on fairly quickly. Look, I know what it's like with officials. Mother of God above tonight. I often got reprimanded by John Maloney, the Lord of Mercenham, and Georgie Ryan, and
rightly so, rightly so too.
And rightly so is right. Yeah, with a good Cashel had a good win, Fran, in the senior rugby, and fair play to them. And Kilfeacle in District defeated Clonakilty. They're top of the pops, but there's still 3 or 4 huge games to go. That match was played in Rockwell. Thanks to Rockwell College for hosting it, because they have the all-weather pitch there. Yeah, the Greyhounds I just spoke about is a huge weekend, starting with the draw in the Huff and Jockey on Saturday night for the Derby, the Oaks, the Champion Stakes, and all of that. So, look, we wish them the very best of luck.
What's happening in Dublin? Is there a horse festival? What's happening there?
That's right, Jeff, and it's a huge thing. It's between Christmas and Cheltenham, which is maybe in around the middle of March. Yeah. And they came up with this idea about 4 or 5 years ago, and it seems to be it's huge prize money, probably the guts of 2 million in prize money. Now, whether it goes ahead or not, there's an inspection there today at 2:30, but you have to check your phones and listen to Tipp FM Sport and all of that, whether it goes ahead or not. So hopefully it will. But it's fantastic to see that festival in Dublin. I don't know whether they could put it back a week or not, because they like to have about 6 weeks of a break before the horses go to Cheltenham. The ground has been fierce soft altogether. The water actually came in over the hurdles. So that will show you, and they did to pump it off and every bloody thing else. And Fran, on Sunday morning last, I went to that Tullis Equestrian Centre. It's on the Mill Road. My first time ever there. Of course, I got lost, and who could I ask? Only an ordinary Joe Soap like myself. He never even heard of it. Anyway, he said, I think it's out by the Anor Hotel, and you turn right. Or I said, right, because I'll take a chance. But anyway, Fran, we met wonderful people there. I met the Tipperary goalie. Do you know who the Tipperary goalie is?
I do. Young Shelley, isn't it?
A man friend by.
Well, there you are now. You see?
That's it, a smashing young fella from my Carty Boroughs. God, he's a fine young man.
Yeah.
And I said to another man, that's Rhys Shelley, you know. Jeez, he says, I wouldn't know him, he says, without the helmet. And I wouldn't bloody well know him with the helmet. So he's hey.
Do you know, I find that all the time, Johnny, when I meet the players without the helmets. It's hard to recognise them, isn't it?
Oh, it is, years ago we knew Jimmy Dial, we knew Liam Devaney, Donny Neal and Babs Keaton and the whole lot, you know. And that, but I was one of the first ever to wear a helmet, but I wore it for probably health and safety, but really to hold on my glasses, because I couldn't see a bloody thing unless I had all of that. But look, friend, and then sure, we have the whole lot going abroad for St Patrick's Day. Can you believe it?
Yeah.
Is there the guts of 50 of them going?
Oh, there must be, yeah. And all the officials going along as well,
and possibly 10 with each minister.
Yeah.
You know, the country's awash with money.
But they're saying we need to do that to promote Ireland abroad, and it's the ideal opportunity, and we have the spotlight of the world on us for St Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
Do you believe all of that, Johnny? No?
No, not at all. A waste of time. It's only a bloody gimmick, if you ask me. And on top of that, last year when our Taoiseach went to America, to the Patrick's Day was on Thursday, and the young man in America, Trump, could only meet him on a Tuesday. And lo and behold, who does he meet on Thursday? Conor McGregor. So it's just go to show you exactly what he thinks of Ireland.
Yeah,
that's my opinion. Anyway.
And so, can I drag you into that conversation we've been having? Do you think Micheál Martin should go for St Patrick's Day to the White House?
I don't know, friend. I'll have to sleep on it. But anyway, friend, and then I had the radio on the morning. The House Minister tells the weather forecast people to get their house in order. And wouldn't he want to have a serious look at his own bloody house set up?
You'd imagine so, all right, but he blamed Met Éireann, for not giving them enough detailed information. And
why would you? I mean, anybody that's selling umbrellas now must be making a bloody fortune. I got my one. Remember the time we were parked there on the main street in Clonmel and Connolly's for men?
Oh, yes, so you got a free umbrella, did you? Yeah.
A free umbrella, but it was absolutely fantastic, and I use it every available opportunity.
Can you imagine, though, Johnny, the undiplomatic language that was used behind the scenes in Met Éireann when they heard that the minister was blaming them? Can you only imagine what they would have said?
It's unbelievable, really. I mean, where else would it come out of only one of the bloody government ministers? I think it's an absolute disgrace to carry on at the whole thing. Anyway, they're expecting to see you in Rose Green tomorrow night in the community hall. They have a table quiz. It's for the Senior Citizens Party on the 15th of February, and they were hoping that you might call out a couple of questions tomorrow night, starting at 7:30.
Well, I would love to do that, except as usual, I'll be down around Killarney playing a few tunes and.
By God,
all the usual stuff.
We have a Cheltenham preview night above with Bridget in the Norbrook Lounge.
Very good.
It's on Thursday, the 26th of February. Okay. We have the likes of Sean Flanagan, a top jockey. We have the Shark Hanlon, and we have Dennis Hogan and many, many more. Dennis Hogan, actually, the proceeds are for that young boy from Drummond Liam Brereton. And whatever is collected on the night will be given to the Liam Brereton Fund. And sincere thanks to Bridget there in the Norbrook Lounge for kicking it off. Dennis Hogan, he's a top trainer and indeed a jockey as well. Dennis Hogan would be a first cousin, actually, of Liam Brereton. So I presume there'll be plenty of people there on the night.
Oh, yeah.
It's a toss-up between me and Ken Whelan to be MC.
I go for Ken myself.
Thanks, friend. Yeah, we have a coffee morning on that one that's on the Norbrook Lounge, the 26th of February.
Yeah.
We have a coffee morning for that young Keen Mullins down in Claheen on the 14th of February. Tickets will be for sale in the local shops on the 7th of February. This is a young boy who was going to Dublin 3 times a week for dialysis. So they're trying to raise funds just to help out for the expenses and all of that, and fair play to them. And of course, friend, this Sunday we have the Fed Up Men's Shed. They leave Connor-Cody House, which is Chicken Brennan's residence, and Michael don't give two.
No,
he gets plenty of publicity.
It's poor Helen I feel sorry for, but anyway.
Oh yeah, there was a notice up one time there where they were putting up some kind of them solar panels in a place, and they said this community is against solar panels, and chicken comes on, and so is the chicken burning underneath it. But fair play to him. Anyway, that tractor run is on Sunday morning at 10:30. They sign up in Connor-Cody House and it takes off at 12 o'clock. We have a tractor run for Liam Brereton as well, that young boy from Drummond. That's on the February the 8th from the Rag, starting at 12 noon, a huge raffle and all of that. And look, the money is certainly needed, and that, so hopefully everybody can attend for that tractor run and drag. To say a sincere thanks for the trad night in Ollie's last Saturday night. It was a huge success for the Sean Meehan Fund, and that's so, look, fair play to them. I was listening to you during the week talking to Tom Woods, a wonderful person, no humming and hawing like myself or anything else. He can just talk off the cuff.
He's brilliant.
And he mentioned one particular man, Patsy Lacey.
He did indeed,
Patsy was like a prison warden, Lord of Mercy, in the cinema. Were you ever at the cinema with Patsy there?
God, I was, and he'd be so excited. He'd be running up and down the aisles and giving out to fellas.
With a torch. With a torch, you see. And I remember if you're going out with a fine-looking bird, which I was at the time. Well, she's still with me.
You can't say that anymore, Johnny, about fine-looking birds. You can't say that.
I know, but Fran, she still is. I was looking at her this morning. She still is. But anyway, Patsy would say, Johnny Luby. You'd hear him about 100 miles away. Johnny Luby, keep your hands to yourself. But I want to say hello to Noreen from Anacarty. I don't know her. I don't know who she actually is, but she met my missus in the shop the other day, and she said, I just love listening to that man. She said every Friday morning.
I wonder who is that now. Hello to Noreen,
Noreen, yeah. I'm inside in Cashel the other day, friend. There was 3 or 4 ladies ahead of me, and their shopping baskets were full to the bloody hilt. I arrived on them. What I had was a packet of soup, a tin of salt, and a packet of Mrs. Cullen's powder. And the women had an ICA meeting in front of me, and they said, isn't that Johnny Luby? We'll let him off. He possibly has to go on and talk to Frank Corey now. So, friend, I thanked them 3 or 4 times, because otherwise I'd have been there. But anyway, friend, there's bingo tonight in Clarehan Community Hall at 7:30. Big money on offer, and it's for the proceeds are for the Clarehan Men's Shed. And now, I'm going to Shannon Airport to collect a couple of lads. One of them worked with Queen, the Lord of Mercy on her, Queen Elizabeth, a wonderful lady. When she was in Balmoral, which is up in Scotland, this fella that I'm going collecting, he got me into Windsor Castle. And I know the whole is listening now. And he got me up on Mammy's horse.
Mammy's horse, the Queen's
Mammy's
horse.
The Queen's horse that she used to ride out every morning on. Now, the Queen's horse was probably 2 foot wide in the back, we'll say, along where we had put up the saddle. Right. And lo and behold, friend, didn't I do my hip? And your man wasn't dread of his life that I was going to sue because I wasn't supposed to be there. But anyway,
going to sue the Queen.
I'm going meeting Chris. He's coming on shortly.
Very good indeed.
The questions that I want to ask is this. You can ask Martin Brown, you can ask the whole bloody lot of them. Should the Taoiseach go to the US for Patrick's Day? That's number one.
Yes.
Now, the second question is, where did Cork go in the second half of the All-Ireland?
Dude, the big questions.
Yeah, the third question is, will Tipperary do back-to-back All-Ireland?
Of course they will.
We're the only county in Holland that's halfway there. Because we won last year's one, so we're halfway there. We're further than every other county.
Yeah, well.
Can you tell me, Lazarus, you heard of Lazarus?
I did. Him who rose from the dead.
Yeah. Well, what was his first name?
How do I know?
Lazarus.
Oh, he was one of the Lazaruses there from around Kulkasan, yeah.
Yeah, around Dominic Street.
Why are you asking about Lazarus's first name, or should I even?
Because I was reading the
Bible.
bit of a Bible the other night, the old Bible, the Old Testament. And you know your man that went into the ark?
The man that what?
Went into the ark.
Yeah, Noah.
Noah, yeah. Now, somebody told me that his name was Friend Noah. Or Johnny Noah. Or does anybody know? I mean, when I come across these things, I'm always very inquisitive like that.
Are you hallucinating this morning or something?
I am hallucinating. But anyway, I want to say sympathies to the family of... I didn't even know it, friend, until I got to Tipperary Star.
Yeah.
Because when you wouldn't have a modern phone or whatever the case may be, the death of the court of Valerie Young, a native of Templemore, she passed away on January the 22nd, surrounded by her loving family after a short illness. A wonderful lady. I met her a couple of times there with Shane Lee and Michal Lowry and Sean Ryan and that. I happened to meet her in Tullis. A wonderful lady. Hey, and Eddie Morden as well, and all the people that were involved. You know, and I see where Cahill Councillor Peggy Ryan opened the meeting by remarking that Valerie, a former town councillor at South Templemore with great heart and determination. Our sympathies to the Lowry team, but especially to the family of Valerie Young.
For sure. Michael wrote a lovely tribute to her on social media, in fact. So, yeah.
Please, Jeff, and look, it's unbelievable. And as I said, when I wouldn't have a modern phone and things like that, you know, it is...
We'll have to have a whip around to get you a modern phone, Johnny. Would you mention Gartnahoe Community Hall? They're holding the special bank holiday bingo in Gartnahoe Community Hall tomorrow, Saturday at 4 p.m, Johnny. Doors opening at 3 p.m. €4,000 in prize money, including a special game for 800.
And of course, friend, the Ross Gray bingo is every Sunday night there on Facebook. There for the GA club, if you log into there.
You can do your bingo online there.
Online.
Yeah.
You know, it's unbelievable. I mean, I can only do it when I'm there. You know, I go to the bingo now, friend, now and again when Nellie be always looking down at me because I spend half the time talking and I'd only play a single book. And you have people playing 4 books.
Yeah.
And I'd say to Catherine, if she was beside me, what number did he call Dale? I can't find it. And the next thing is, friend, oh, Lord God, when I think about it. But look, the Golden Bingo every Thursday night, you have Tipp Town and as well Cashel Bingo on a Saturday night, a tremendous
You better mention gold. Did you mention gold on a Thursday night? It'd be war.
Yeah. I did, because otherwise you'll get a rap.
Listen. Yeah.
Are you still going for the breakfast
I'm still in the tea rooms. Of course I am, Johnny. Of course I am. I'm having my pavlova after my sausages and stuff, which is... Can I entice you up to County Offaly tonight to Clohan? We're up there in the little community hall. You see.
I'm collecting this man.
But you bring him up. It will be a lovely baptism of fire for him. Bring him up to...
Well, fine, you'll have to meet him sometime. An absolute gentleman, this fella is.
Sure, bring him in. We'll ask him about Mammy, the Queen, and all of that. Johnny, I have to go. So look after yourself.
Right, friend. Hey, listen, mind yourself, and I'll be thinking of you when I'm in Clonmel, please God, for 3 or 4 days, and enjoying the crack of at the dog track every Saturday on the 3 nights of the weekend.
All right, have a great one. Look after yourself, Johnny. Gurmin Thank you. Bye-bye. Johnny Luby there from the Fourpenny Road this morning. Back in a moment.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Puck On. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
And you're very welcome back to Tip Today. Now on Sunday we will celebrate the feast of St Bridget. But who was this character Bridget that means so much to so many Irish people? Well, historian Mary Alice O'Connor has been looking into the patron saint of poets, healers and newborns, and she joins me now. Good morning to you, Mary Alice.
Good morning, Fran. How can I follow Johnny Luby, for God's sake?
Easily, I would say, Mary Alice. Very easily indeed.
I doubt it.
Lovely to talk to you today. A lot of confusion about who Bridget is between the pagan story and the Christian story, Mary Alice.
I suppose that's the thing. We're not sure even if it comes to it, if she was a real person at all or just sort of a figment. Yes, all of these saints tended to have a sort of a pagan, or around their feast days or around any of that tradition, was in pagan tradition, and then rather than trying to take that away, they Christianized aspects of it. So we are told that St Bridget was born in 451.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose she's got more prominence in on a practical level, Fran, because in 2023 we now got a bank holiday and a recognised feast day for her. We always had St Patrick. So I suppose she's the equivalent of Patrick. She's the woman, and she's the Mother Ireland, the Mary of Ireland. It is said she was born and raised around Kildare, of modest people, and is venerated as a saint. I suppose the thing we would recognise easiest about it is the St Bridget's cross.
Yes.
And it's great to see that there's a revival of that. And I've seen people now, they've been having workshops in the libraries with younger people and with across all ages to make the Bridget's cross. And the thing was that they're made from the reeds and they're hung in your house.
And what is the tie-up there between the design of that very particular design of the Bridget's cross with St Bridget herself?
Yeah. I'm wondering about that, Fran, because I'm very surprised to see, the cross that we're familiar with.
Yes.
I saw a variation on that in a workshop that was presented by the library in Tipperary Town, and I must go and ask them to know where did the kind of alternative cross, I'd call it, come from. I've no idea, to be quite honest with you. I'd never heard of anything except the one that we would recognise as being traditional.
Yes.
I suppose the feast day on the 1st of February heralds the coming of spring. And mind you, there's a little touch of it this morning. The sun is shining here outside the window and it has stopped raining. So the beginning of life all over again. Then on St Bridget's Eve, of course, the big thing was to put out a cloth or a scarf. Put it out, and St Bridget is meant to pass by and to bless that scarf. And it was used traditionally to prevent sore throats. Now, that could be tied in a little bit with St Blaise as well.
Yes, yeah.
Because certainly older people, I'm not sure about the younger people these days, would go to the church and they would have their throats blessed.
That's right,
It was tradition we always did, So the putting out the cloth or the Brattock, as it was called, on the eve of St Bridget's Day. Now, apparently, somebody told me only yesterday that it's done particularly around Thurles and that area. I can't say that I would have been familiar with it,
Oh, that's interesting. Maybe we could put that out to our listeners and see what we get back where that is concerned.
In our part of South Tipperary now here, I wouldn't have recalled that much about it. Now, the crosses definitely, and they were hung in your house over the front door, and that again was to keep any evil or anything like that out of your house, I suppose,
So again traces of the pagan tradition there, I suppose.
Yes. Yeah. And it could be some people had a white cloth, some people had a red cloth or a blue cloth. It really didn't matter. Michael Fortune, who is a folklorist from Wexford, he writes a lot about these traditions. There's a prayer as well to St Bridget, actually.
Is there?
I found.
Is there?
I'll just kind of quote you couple of lines.
Yeah.
You were a woman of peace. You brought harmony where there was conflict. You brought light in the darkness. You brought hope to the downcast. May the mantle of your peace cover those who are troubled and anxious. And may peace be firmly rooted in our hearts and in our world. God knows we could do with that.
Well, that's for sure. It's beautiful too, isn't it?
Yeah.
There are, if memory serves me correct, Mary Alice, there are Tipperary connections with Bridget.
Oh,
I think she may have travelled. You see, this is the trouble with this.
Yes.
We don't know how much of this is fact and how much of it is lore or what. But seemingly she did travel through Tipperary and spend some time here on her various journeys around the country.
Oh, right.
But there you go.
Yeah, I can't say that I would have found that.
Yeah.
Incidentally, I saw a reel on social media last night from Killorglin, and they had a fire lighting, and they had an image of Bridget, like what would you call it, like a large photographic image,
Yes.
and they were lighting sconces, I suppose you would call them, for Bridget.
Well,
I thought it was lovely that
it's a lovely
this
idea, isn't it?
tradition,
Yeah.
this tradition. And I see actually that there was there's something on in Clonmel. Can't give you the details of it, but again, it was on social media. This weekend, I think it's a paid event, a kind of what to call it? It ends up in the church anyway, and there's various elements to it.
Yes.
So it's nice to see that that's kind of recognition of Bridget, especially, for us women, that we would like to think that Bridget would be recognised.
And it's interesting that you say that, Mary Alice, because it seems to me that in recent years Bridget has been embraced by the feminist movement, and she as and do you go?
Very
Do you have
much so.
do you have any issue with that, Mary Alice? Do you
No, I'm all in favour of it.
Okay,
Ben. I think
right.
it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to come into our own here. Yeah, and I suppose the fact that we're sort of recognised now, it's become a bank holiday for employees. I think it's wonderful after a long, dreary month of January, and then it kind of gives that little break between here and Patrick's Day, which will be the next national feast day. So yeah, I'm fully in favour of it, and I think that, some of the traditions have been brought back, and then sort of new variations on it.
Of course, yeah.
There's
No, the only reason I posed the question to you was that it seems to me that this embracing of her as a feminist icon, almost there's an attempt there to write the Christianity out of this and go back to the pagan Bridget, if you know what I mean. Sorry, I'm putting that very clumsily, but you take my point.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, well, I suppose if it recognises Bridget, brings that kind of
that's a good
feminine
thing.
It's a good thing. Yeah. So I think. I think. Wouldn't it be good if people put out maybe the scarf tonight?
It's a lovely tradition, isn't it?
Tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Tomorrow night, Saturday night. Would be nice to revive that custom,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And founding monasteries, I think there's some evidence as well about miracles where Bridget is concerned. Yes.
There is, yeah. You see, they kind of claim her for Kildare. Then others say that perhaps it was Dundalk or up that direction. So the jury's out on that. And I forgot to say that, the previous festival, or the pagan festival, was in Bollock, it was called. So then that's around the 1st of February as well. And then the tradition of Bridget sort of grew. The Christianity side of it grew from that pagan tradition. Yes, it was said that she was the patron saint of poets and of daring and all of that. And there's miracles, but any of the miracles that were associated were, like we'll say, feeding the poor. They were sort of,
yes,
dare I say it, they weren't stand out kind of events, if you know what I mean. They were sort of low key, for want of a better word.
But if she managed to feed the poor, that has to be a good thing. One of our listeners making an interesting point as well, saying St Bridget's Well is in Tubberadora, but my understanding is there's quite a few of Bridget's wells around the county around the country as well.
Yeah, I think there's now, I'm open to correction. I think the one in Genohil is St Bridget's as well. Yeah, there would be. Yeah, there'd be quite a few of them. I don't know if they had any association per se with Bridget, or were they just called after her, for one reason or another, I think a lot of things get kind of confused when you look back at any of the associations with saints. Like even in our own area, you have St Sedna's Well, you have St Pecans, you have St Bernard's, and they're kind of shrined in myth and legend, really. But,
we're hearing as well that there's a St Bridget's Well off the Golden Road called Ladies' Well near Ballygriffin House as well. So,
yes, up there.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, yeah. Okay.
So you will celebrate.
Johnny would probably be at that one now, I'd say. Yeah? What do you think?
God help us all. Poor St Bridget. That's all I have to say. So you will have your shawl or your scarf out, you think, Mary Alice?
I will. I'll have my scarf out. Yeah, definitely.
Right. Well,
and yes,
happy Happy St Bridget's Day to you, Mary Alice, and always good to talk to you. And thank you for your time today. Thank you.
Not at all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good morning
Bye-bye.
to you. That's our historian there, Mary Alice O'Connor, speaking to us about Bridget. How do you feel about Bridget? Do you want to share with us? 083 311 3311. Back in just a moment.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
If it matters to you, it matters to us. Call Tipp today on 1800 938 007.
No, Ballycommon Craft Group, they're celebrating the life of St Bridget on this coming Monday, the 2nd of February, between 10 and 12:30 there. So that's Ara Historical and Archaeological Society, along with the Ballycommon Craft Group there. By the way, if you are sending us information like that, if you could write it out properly, if you know what I mean. If you send us posters, it's very small on the screen here and it's very hard to read the detail. There's a St Bridget's Well outside of Liscannor on the Doolin Road, says Martin to us in lovely County Clare. We're also hearing that there's a free event in Calais Hall this coming Sunday, and that's Calais Templemore, it says here, and we're happy to mention that as well. Okay, lots more coming into us on that, but let us go to Cashel and to Martin Brown. Good morning to you, Martin.
Good morning, friend. Good morning to listeners.
And good to talk to you. We want to talk about the St Patrick's Day celebrations, but first of all, I know that you want to pass on condolences, Martin.
I do, Fran. Want to pass condolences to the Ryan family on the sad loss of their mother, Wally. Wally has been a long-serving member of the St Patrick's Day Parade, and for years has been the treasurer. And she was really passionate down through the years that everything would run right on the day. And she's a real community figure, and it would be a massive loss to us on the parade, especially, but also to the town. And this year, we're going to dedicate the parade in memory of Wally, and we're going to introduce a new perpetual trophy named after Wally that will go to the overall winner, just as to reflect what Wally has done. I think since 98 is the first year Wally joined the committee, so she has been a long serving member and treasure to us all.
Well, that's
condolences to the Ryan family.
That's for sure, and we would like to be included in those condolences, Martin. She was on the radio with me many times, indeed, over the years.
Through the years.
There's been controversy in Cashel about the arrangements for the St Patrick's Day Parade this year, Martin. You had a meeting last night.
We had a meeting. We had a meeting planned the night when the news came about Wally that was postponed. Look, we've had several meetings, Fran. I won't say it's controversy. I suppose miscommunication was a lot of what happened there. But a statement went up by the Chamber, and we regret that went up, and we'd asked the Chamber maybe to take that message down, that the message was out there that everything was right, just the parade on the Saturday evening, the 14th, and that, look, at some of the commentary was that we were getting people to leave Cashel, child safety was an issue, we were anti-family, anti-business and anti-Cashel town. There couldn't be anything further from the truth, Fran, and I think, like, we're a community, all volunteers, and everything we've done this year and other years is to try and get as many people into Cashel as we can. And just to clear up, what has been planned this year is, down through the years, and I'm sure Wally and others of us that have been on with you would have seen it, one of the issues all the time with especially walking groups is young children going from, we say, the original rock all around the town. If you have wet weather, cold weather, they're just miserable at the end of the parade and no one stays around. So in consultation with the guards and other clubs this year, we decided that this year we're going to start on the Care Road. It's about roughly half in the actual length of the parade, which walking groups and all that are very happy with, Fran, because we've spoken.
And that's on the 14th, Martin, is it? That's
on the 14th.
That's on the Saturday evening.
Look at some of the commentary, Fran, since the announcement was made or since word was out, is actually on social media. by some people who were with us last year. Like, some people are giving out that it's not on the 17th.
Yeah.
But just let people know, we had sat down and we spoke about it. If we were to go to 17th, you're clashing with four and possibly 5 other parades on that day. The same was going to be on the Sunday if we went to Sunday. So we had 3 or 4 meetings and we decided in the end that maybe a Saturday evening parade itself would be the thing to draw people in. Now, we spoke to the guards as well, and by doing it this way, Fran, all the town is staying open. We're only talking about having to close the Care Road and the main street. So there's 3/4 of the town being left open.
And are you talking about, is it a 5 p.m. kickoff to that?
No, a half four kickoff. But, Fran, we have a range of local talent and that on display from 2 o'clock on the Saturday on the plaza. And we're hoping that brings footfall into the town, because we'd all love to go back 20, 30 years ago when every community group took part in the St Patrick's Day parade and we had a big parade. But unfortunately, between lack of volunteers and insurance down through the years, parades have gotten smaller and smaller. Yeah. So our aim this year is to go stand alone on the Saturday evening with the parade, but with all the entertainment before the parade this year to get people into town. And that should, in itself, if we can get football in.
And have you healed things up with the Chamber? Because they questioned the whole rationale behind that decision, and they said the parade should remain on St Patrick's Day, as you alluded to there, continue to be a family-friendly, safe for children, town-centred, rooted in the history, community and identity of the town. Have they changed their mind on that then?
Look, I've spoken to a couple of members of it, and once it was explained to them what we were actually doing, they were very happy. Now, we haven't spoken to the chairperson. I don't know if the chairperson of our own committee has met him yet. But like I said, one of the things that's been levelled at us is that it's not on Patrick's Day. Remember, it was on the 16th last year. We had members that are giving out on social media at the minute about it being moved from the 17th. It was on the 16th last year.
But that was the Sunday. That was a Sunday last year, wasn't it?
It was a Sunday, yeah. It was a Sunday. But we're only going one day. And like I said, our aim is that we're a standalone. And we've sent out invitations to other towns, bands and all to come and join us on the Saturday. Because they will have plans made. We've gotten work from Capper White. There's a group coming from Capper White, and we're sending out invitations to all the towns around and all the hinterlands that if they had intended going to a parade, maybe on the Sunday or the 17th, to come and join us and make it a big parade that's enjoyable for everybody. And like I said, the anti-town and that, our festivities will start at 2 o'clock, Fran, and I suppose we as a committee or any committee like any of the festivals, our job is to try and do what we can to get football into the town.
Yeah. To some degree, though, I can understand, because of the town's association with St Patrick, Martin, is a rather special one. And then would you have St Patrick's Day on the Tuesday with nobody at all around the town?
But isn't that what happened last year, Fran? And any year that it has moved. Look, like I said, one of the things that would be levelled at any committee every year is that the parade was so small and there's all trucks and tractors and that. Our aim this year is to make a big parade. Like, it's just the way it has fallen this year is that we could have gone on the Wednesday, or the Tuesday, whatever day Patrick's Day is, 17th. But you're clashing then with 4 and maybe 5 other parades, which we felt wouldn't bring a crowd into Cashel like we are hoping. And look, we're sending out invitations, and there is no ill feeling on our side. We're asking the likes of the Chamber to come on board and give us a hand. We're asking different groups that if they're not taking part, we say the Men's Shed, Tidy Towns, Lekela, come on board with us and make this Saturday a success. And like I said, we have deliberately, the route we're taking is leaving Cashel Town, 3/4 of Cashel Town open for traffic and
yes.
the public.
But has it been
close it down?
Yeah, has it been very
3 or 4
divisive
hours.
though, Martin? I mean, is the town divided on this now? Is there division?
I don't think so, Fran. Once people actually have heard what we have planned,
Yeah.
they have been very supportive. And
Because
I've
one
seen
of the things that the Chamber said is that a Saturday evening parade raises safety concerns where children are concerned, particularly in low light, and they also spoke about older residents will be less able to attend an evening event.
But I don't know where they come with the older people not being able to attend. Maybe there is some, Fran, we don't know.
Yeah.
But look, no matter what time you hold a parade, that's going to be a situation. But as far as the daylight is concerned, look, that is one of the things we discussed with Gardaí, and I've done it myself, is we worried about the time, and we were asked to get a predicted sundown or nighttime, and it's predicted to be bright up to 7 o'clock. Our parade, we intend having it finished by 6:30. So you have that half hour, 3/4 an hour, even after the parade on the main street.
Okay.
Everybody's down the main street. It isn't that we're walking down the road at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the dark.
Right.
Our parade will be over in daylight.
Yeah, so a decision made on this then. It's happening on Saturday evening, the 14th of March. So that's definitive then, Martin.
Yeah, the parade is on the 14th of March, Fran. Our festivities will start with local groups from schools, local musicians and that from 2 o'clock that day on the plaza. And in other areas around the town, we hope that we get enough people that we can spread the different events around the town. Look at the team of it this year is Radioactive. That's celebrating 100 years of public broadcasting in Ireland. So we're asking, like I said, we're sending out the invitation to all the groups in the town and in surrounding towns and hinterlands to come on board with us on the Saturday and make the Saturday parade a success. And like I said, our aim from the very start is to get as many people into Cashel as we can on that Saturday early. Enjoy the festivities and the events around the town, and they're in town and enjoying the parade and still gone before it gets dark that evening.
All right, Martin, and we'll get into the detail of it a couple of weeks beforehand. But good to talk to you today, and thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you. Good morning to you. That's Martin Brown speaking to us from Cashel there about that controversial decision, I suppose, to hold the parade on the 14th. Now, we're hearing about a fantastic night of entertainment lined up for a great cause, that is Mary's Meals. And there's 15 different acts appearing at the Abbey Court Hotel in Neenah. And I think it's tomorrow night, in fact, to support Mary's Meals, which is a great charity indeed. Storytelling to dancing. It's going to be a brilliant community night indeed. And tickets at the door. And everybody welcome. News and information is coming up.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Puck On. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Over half a century driving the people of Tipperary and surrounding areas with quality, reliable and economical vehicles, new and used. Call the sales team today to discuss your next car or van on 067 24 111.
Thanks, Pat, and welcome back to the second hour of Tip Today. Don't forget to mention social dancing tonight in Clohan Hall in County Offaly, and I know a lot of Tipperary people go there, and I'll be up there along with Muriel tonight. I think it's 9:30 start on that, as far as I know. The late Paddy Clancy of Clancy Brothers fame was a great man for making the St Bridget's cross. I did an engraving in stone of one for his late wife Mary, and I placed it in the entrance wall to where they lived. God bless them both, says Brian to us today. That's a great story indeed. Johnny Luby is such a funny man. He'd make you smile on a Friday morning. And the truth of what he said about Micheál Martin St Patrick's Day as well. So there you go. So there was a nice comment about our Johnny. Now, yesterday it was tough talk on Cuba with threats of tariffs and countries doing business there. Now we're seeing rising tensions with Iran as Donald Trump makes it clear that the US isn't afraid to push back. At the same time, there are big moves on trade as well, including plans to hike tariffs on South Korea. Some noticeable shifts in relationships with long-time allies. All of it fits into the familiar America First approach and how the US is dealing with the rest of the world right now. We also, of course, have the fallout from the actions of ICE in Minneapolis. So let's get perspective from an American friend of ours with a background in the US military. Delighted to be joined in the studio by Bernie Goldbach. Good morning to you, Bernie.
Morning, friend.
It's interesting. We had a conversation downstairs and I was talking to you about Cuba, and you said you've been so busy over the last day or so that you just can't stay with what's happening, because it's happening at such a rate, isn't it?
But it has to, friend, because you have to suffocate Epstein files. You have to suffocate the visions people see of what happened on the streets of Minneapolis. So you got to change the message. And of course, if you insinuate you want to maybe invade Cuba or take it over with your hegemonic view of what hemispheric control you ought to have, it takes the message away from these other painful topics like people were shot and killed in the streets of Minneapolis.
And do you really believe it's as cynical as that?
I can't. I don't want to be inside of Trump's head. So there you go. I don't know. Maybe I'm worried about the Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller making some of these drumbeats happen, and many of the views that he has were imprinted in the playbook that he used for his first 365 days. Really pushing the government and the United States down a different pathway of how it's viewed in the world. America First, written by a very strong group of people, benefactors, loyalists. That's in the playbook. So I'm not sure Cuba's in the playbook, but at least a hemispheric view of what America ought to have all the way to 30 west longitude. That's coming out. I mean, that's why Greenland became a thing. It's part of our hemisphere.
Should we be surprised, though? Because, I mean, everything that's happening is what Trump told us he was going to do.
Yeah, but people voted normally for one thing, cheaper eggs. They didn't vote for shooting people in the streets. And they didn't vote for, bombing Iran.
But
they voted single-issue voters.
But the shooting people on the streets, they did vote for something profound to be done about immigration.
Yeah,
Bernie.
It's called the border. Build a bigger wall. I mean, put border control people back to where the big problem was. Landing at airports, where there used to be a really strong and robust immigration naturalization system in place. So put the money there. Put the money into maybe the courts, the immigration courts, the asylum courts. These are bipartisan proposals before Trump took office. He told people before the election, no, don't push that. So I have a better election manifesto. And then all of a sudden, what was bipartisanship with the people doing their job, not local policing, but immigration patrols, everything's shifted now. You have people that cannot pass a physical that a fifth grader could pass. You have people who can't actually read the documentation from the warrant, so they just photocopy something they can read. You have those people at the front of the system, while mass, doing things that were not part of what people voted for.
Tell me a little bit about, because this is scary, and this was news to me as well, the technology that ICE is using. When you talk to us a bit about that?
All right, well, it's part of the money that ICE got, and they got it approved through the Senate. So they got the big funding package that they wanted, mega bucks. I mean, it's bigger than bigger than the French, German, and Irish defense budgets combined. Massive amounts of money. Part of it went into an intelligence system called Palantir. So it allows active biometric screening on sites. So you'll see some ICE people taking what appears to be camera shots of people, but it actually could be a live representation of your face in a database they have of known agitators. And right there they have cause to investigate. So on the ground you go, handcuffed and put into a place where they try to figure out a couple weeks later whether you truly are one of these domestic
So
terrorists.
this is happening in real time, where protesters are concerned. Is that what you're saying to me?
Oh, yeah.
So when we see them, because I've seen them use the cameras, but I thought it was just videoing in some way.
No. That plus the drones are picking up things. So it's America doesn't know this. I mean, I haven't heard any people screaming about, wait a minute. In Europe, this could not happen. Well, actually, it still could. But when the European AI Act's put in place, this form of technology, active biometric real-time tracking, is not allowed in Europe. So they can do CCTV analysis, but that's not live. It's like if they take a still of you waiting in the queue for something, quickly analyze that. They can't do it live. It's dystopian. It's part of a film that people would have seen about how they reinvent truth. It's just it's
And
dangerous.
Is this all about the influence in the White House from Silicon Valley and from a particular circle within Silicon Valley?
That's how I take it. So I think the tech bros who paid big bucks, they're paying Trump for his paved rose garden. They pay Trump for the new ballroom, so that tens of millions of dollars each. There are some Irish investors doing this. I won't name them, but I mean they are deep in, saying, yeah. How much more do you need, President? So either they buy crypto coin from him, or they give directly to the little fund for the ballroom to buy the marble, the gold gilding, that kind of thing. It's just, so that's happening. Palantir's the name of the company. Peter Thiel's the owner. Thiel does really crazy things. He's the guy that hopes he can live to 200. He's built his bunkers already away from known nuclear sites. So, and they're all part of the process. That's why a lot of them are leaving California, because they'll be taxed higher. But still, they're part of the club.
Well, I mean, I hardly know where to start with there's so many aspects to it. Let's take Venezuela, for example, and however you want to describe it, taking Maduro out and bringing him to the States. Was that a surprise to you that action happened?
Yeah, because I was around in uniform when Jimmy Carter tried to do the same thing with embassy staff.
Yeah.
And it fell apart. So since that time, America has learned a lot about how to come in, get Osama bin Laden, and how to extract you
in a surgical fashion.
Yeah, I mean, think if they wanted to do that to the Taoiseach. God, you in and out, and nobody would do. I mean, you wouldn't even know what's happening. So that it's pretty impressive. Now, I would have flown those guys a couple places. 2 different times. I remember picking up 14 people. And I figured, where are we going? He says, well, your airdrop qualified. I said, yeah, but this is a point-to-point mission. He says, no, we're going to need this profile. So, we had 15 people jump out of the back of the plane somewhere. And while crossing America, thinking, that's weird. So they practice this stuff. And they practice it a lot more. I was an instructor pilot in the C-141. Another time we picked up a guy who had a van on the East Coast, and we had to drop him off an island on the West Coast. And while we were flying, I went back to use the toilet, and I realized the van I picked up, so I swear that van was a blue U.S. Air Force van. It had changed into a green van. The guy had applied the vinyl strips on it, so he had a green van.
While in transit?
Yes.
Wow.
So one guy, and he had to capture a flag is what he had to do. He had to show up with his credentials at this military, on this island, to capture a flag, and then we took it back. So we landed without clearance on a runway in the middle of, off the coast of California. He drove his little truck off the back of the aircraft while we were still running down the runway, went to the control tower, picked up the flag, put him back in the van, in the aircraft, and took back off again. That's kind of a game.
And isn't that part of it, really? Because all this shadowy stuff has gone on for generations.
No, it has. It's gotten much better.
But if anything, where Trump is concerned, at least it's overt as opposed to covert.
Yeah.
So we're seeing now what's happening.
Yeah, it's very expensive. These people are highly trained. The guys I took that were jumped up. I mean, they had pills just like the Germans had for the Panzer Group. So it's something like kind of a very high octane cocaine induced. I mean, they're pumped up, jumped up,
and they go in and do this kind of thing.
I mean, the drugs are important to keep because we had to fly across time zones, and you had to make sure you're totally alert. So they weren't totally drugged, but they were just ready. They were ready. Their adrenaline was pumping.
What do you make of what was done, though, politically in Venezuela? Because the Venezuelan people were out in the streets celebrating.
Yeah, but the government hasn't changed, really. Yeah. I mean, the head man's gone, but they're looking for the right Trump loyalist, and giving away a Nobel Prize isn't going to get you that ticket.
Yeah, so. well, Miss Rodriguez, I mean, she said she would go along with. Well, even though in the last few days, I think she might be changing her mind on that.
Fran, look, when I worked in Washington, D.C., I was an intern for the U.S. military. I worked with these congressional liaisons, worked with the Foreign Service. Different people wear different hats and different expertise. Now, a lot of this policy is being run by the executive branch of the United States. It's not the same. That they understand the heritage, the history, the intricacies of all the way that these things interlace. And I think they're getting surprised by how Europe is more unified than they ever imagined. You piss people off, you're going to sometimes get blowback that's met at that Cashel, where people say, sorry, we're, all Germany and France and Ireland has to do is say, well, we're going to call in some of those U.S. bonds. I mean, major stress, and
So you're telling me Europe has a strong hand to play if they chose to play
if they
it?
decided. I mean, it would wreak havoc on the global financial system potentially, so you have to be ready for that. But they could say, yeah, we bought this 10-year bond, but we're going to cash it in at 6 years. We're going to take a hit with what we would have got, but we want the money back. Thank you.
Did we see signs of that with that rollback on Greenland, for
Maybe.
example, where Europe got tough,
The
tougher?
Secretary of Treasury was asked that specific question.
Yeah.
And he said, well, that's irresponsible media reporting. Now, the media wouldn't have gotten that idea from, like, The Economist or the Financial Times if people in treasuries across Europe were saying, what can we do besides respond with tariffs? Well, we can ask for our money back. That's what we can do. That's major. Germany, you could say, what we can do, we want our gold back. We're going to put the gold in London, take it back from New York. There's like, I don't know, $142 billion of German gold in New York.
So they could,
they
could fight back in some sort of a fashion. Yeah,
it's bold, and typically if somebody runs finance or a government would not be involved in that kind of economic warfare, but you could do that. I mean, Americans decide, hey, on first Tuesdays every month, we're not going to buy anything. If 80% of Americans said, we're not buying anything, you could grind the American economy out. No tax coming in. You know, everybody said, it's tools down.
In a sort of a way, and for the sake of conversation, has Trump done Europe a favour to some degree in that we were sort of apathetic about so much,
Maybe.
so particularly about defence and the like. I mean, you know,
maybe that's
depending so much on the US.
Community and commonality are important. There are positive effects of this, but on the bigger global order, you know, we have people who share common values, and most of America came from Europe, so they share the common value of heritage, the gene pool, what makes life and what makes humanity. When you strip that away and say, no, it's only the American view, or it's only the European view, it's only the Chinese view, we go back generations. I mean, it's like when the Spanish ruled the high seas and they had conflicts with the Brits and the Portuguese. I mean, it's like empire. And we've left the empires away. We've gotten rid of that, went to democratic societies. We care for people that are moving the coal and, you know, doing the hard work, cleaning the toilets. We care for people, except in the Trump world, we're saying, no. You know, everyone's got to, if you can't pay for your life insurance or your medical insurance, well, then you're on your own. But we were moving steadily towards where America was adopting some European values, like medical or health insurance, and Europe was adopting some values like, okay, the value of capitalism, lower tax. But like when all of a sudden you strip that away and say, no, it's only America, and we'll tell you what to do and how high to jump, or Europe's saying, sorry, we don't buy into that. We're going to tell you that we're going to short your bonds. You're back to conflict ruling, you know, empires that are fighting each other, and that's never good for humanity.
Cuba now seems to be in his sights.
Yeah.
Why do you think that's coming up now at this point?
It's in the hemisphere, and number two, you have to distract from Epstein, and number three, there are some Cubans who elected him, some Hispanics, who would view that as good, to get rid of the way Cuba's been kept into the 1950s and impose some kind of globalist U.S. structure on it. Now, we have Guantanamo Bay there. I mean, I had to be certified to fly in there myself. So you could say, we're just going to bog up Guantanamo Bay, going to a couple couple out there next to the island, and just kind of threaten people with just seeing things that are, you know, he hates windmills, so seeing people with boats with guns on it, saying, well, we are here, and we can do damage if we wanted to. But you don't have to do that. I mean, they could come right in there and just say, we're installing this government, taking the other people out and put them into a holding facility in Florida, Alligator, Alcatraz, and working it out with them. I mean, they could do that, and who's going to say no to that?
But, I mean, your background is military. My understanding of a military campaign is that, you know, I mean, if you're trying to fight a campaign on so many different flanks, it's incredibly difficult because you're dividing your resource. He appears to be doing that, though. There's fights going on everywhere. And now the possibility of Iran.
Yeah, no, in the Pentagon, we war game all this. We have blue team and a checkmate team and a red team. But like everybody knows, the biggest threat is actually from China. Well, I shouldn't say everybody, but that is the thought.
But is that not an economic threat as opposed to a military threat?
The Chinese Navy, they have a super carrier that's really brilliant. There's some of the artificial intelligence they have is really good. I mean, they're good. They're a globalist power. So when you don't, he respects strength, and so Trump respects Xi about what he can do. The premier of China has got people and money and armament. He respects that. He's not going to agitate them. But what they are doing is they're controlling large swaths of maritime movement. The Chinese are, which will affect New Zealand, Australia, Malaysia, the whole area in Vietnam, Japan, and it's going to tilt the need for countries to curry favor with the Chinese to make sure they can get product coming in and out. Otherwise, they can theoretically be blockaded by the Chinese Navy. The Americans they're scraping back the jungles of islands that we used to occupy in World War II so they can put fighter jets there just to have a presence. But, I mean, that's all happening as part of the defense budget.
The midterm elections on the way. It seems to me that is he even looking to those now? Because
he's got to ignore what's happening. I mean, the numbers he knows, he's getting real numbers from people. I mean, Ted Cruz was shouted out of the Oval Office saying, you have to be focus on cost of living, focus on getting a health plan. And he was shouted away, so everyone loves me. Trump's using a polling system only of his base to see how much that base, 70% of my base approves what I'm doing. But that's less than 37% of Americans who vote. So it's very treacherous. And the people in the Congress know they're on borrowed time. The Republicans and the House Representatives borrowed time. That the House will flip. No one's arguing that. Does the Senate flip? Don't know. It could. I mean, watch North Carolina and see what happens there first. But that could flip.
And if it does, he's powerless then, is he?
Well, what will happen? When the House flips, immediately they'll start to look impeachment for everybody that were appointed. So Pam Bondi, Hegseth, everybody who's been appointed and ratified by the Senate, there'll be impeachment proceedings against them plus Trump. And then their recordings or their recommendation will go to the Senate.
Sorry, can they do that while he's in office?
Oh, yeah. Once the House flips, that's their constitutional republic power. You see, in a perfect world, you'd have the U.S. Congress, the Supreme Court, and the president with equal power levers. Now, what will happen, because the American right or left is very agitated, they're going to come in with a bit of a vendetta, empowered by what Trump did, saying, wait a minute, he was doing all this to us, so now we're going to turn the spigot the other way, put real hot on him, and we're going to basically grind his government to a halt by forcing people action to happen to appear for hours on end in Congress testifying. And then the documentation will be prepared by the House, go to the Senate. If the Senate did not flip, they still have to look at that, figure out, okay, what are we going to do? So they spend time looking at that. And most importantly now, based on how Trump's done his business, he has very few laws that he has legislated. He just has the auto pen Trump signature with Sharpie for executive orders. They could be stripped faster than auto pen works.
But he has the Supreme Court.
Right, but you can strip an executive order without any kind of problem. That doesn't have to go to the Supreme Court to be adjudicated. No, he signs stuff with his Sharpie instead of going through the tough, arduous legislative process in two houses that he controlled to make it a law. So most of these things he's done, totally line items with a pencil and a grease board and like his Sharpie. He has not legislated. He doesn't know how to legislate. So that's going to be a really quick thing for him to discover. One, he can't get packages through the House when the House flips. And two, when the temperature of the country measured in the 2026 November elections happens, if a Democrat's brought in, they'll be looking for blood. The first thing they'll do is strip Trump from everything. They'll try to strip everything out of the White House has gold plating on it. They may reverse direction and kill the ballroom and reinstate the East Wing. They'll definitely knock down his Arch de Trump if he builds it. But it's going to be vicious because the Supreme Court has said the executive has the power to do those things. And so if somebody comes in that's combative and intelligent, the Republicans will be screaming for 8 years because they'll say, Trump did this, the Supreme Court validated this, the president has those powers. Sorry, boys.
And in the midst of all this, where are the Democrats, Bernie?
Looking for a message. I mean, AOC says a good message. Pete Buttigieg has a good message. My governor of Pennsylvania's decent message, Shapiro. They have good messages saying, look, is it right for someone to come into my home, the Shapiro's a Jew, and, petrol bomb it during Hanukkah and force me to leave because there's a fire in my sitting room? I mean, is that right? I mean, this is the kind of stuff, and that sticks when your family's been put at risk, saying, okay, if I am elected to an executive office, I'm going to take prisoners.
Newsom and that outburst in Davos.
Newsom's fun to watch, but I don't think he's going to have. I don't think he has the credibility of some of these heavy hitter, long-standing governors who are measured, careful, congenial, and they don't go for social media bait. They say, no, we're doing it this way. However, that's not the Fox
But
News.
because they don't do that, it appears that
that there's no
Democrats
message. No, I get it. It's a real difficult thing to kind of balance this stuff, and like I don't envy the Democrats for having to figure out what is their message. They're on a high tide of sentiment now. People saying we need to change. So they're on the change. They are change agents, but people want change in specific things. They want lower costs. They want their health insurance back. Those are two good things to run on. 2 items. Just go with that. Go with that. Don't promise you're going to make eggs cheaper within 1 month. Say, no. We have ideas here. Here are the ideas. This is our report card. You can ask us every month how it's going. Number 2, we will bring you we will bring your health care back. That's easy to do.
And do you think they realize at this point they need to stay away from woke ideology?
Yeah. No, the DEI thing could be something they still bring in, but it doesn't have to be the drumbeat of the platform. Yes. But now I'm not a strategist. I'm not a, and there's 50, there's so many constituencies out there. I mean, there are so many red constituencies, Trump constituencies in the farmlands of Minnesota that we don't even hear about. They're saying, terrible thing, the guy got shot there, but why was he at that? Why was he demonstrating? That's what they're saying. It was cold anyway. Why were you out there?
So give me a prediction then. What's like before the midterms? Is he going to Russia? Because it appears there's a chaos now at this point. I mean,
I don't know. I actually don't think he's going to go around America because he has to, but he's getting shouted at more than he expects. So he went to the Poconos where my brother lives. My brother's a Trump voter, and delivered a message there. He went to Iowa where my first cousins live, delivered a message there. But the problem is, he's not swaying the people that are really upset. There's a lot of people in Iowa saying, all my soybeans are rotten. I don't have enough money to buy the seed for corn. You're giving me money from tariffs, which the Supreme Court should have by now voted on, ruled on. So I'm not sure you're making my life insecure as a family unit. Well, I'm going to sell the farm. So I'm not sure he's actually getting through to the people that elected him. They're saying, costing a whole lot. I mean, I know Irish, living in America, they're spending more than, this is hard to stomach, more than €2,000 a month for health insurance. How do you live on that?
I don't know. Michael is in Killinall. He says dictation to the UK as to who they can and can't trade with. He has no intention of stepping aside. Says this is the latest one where he's dictating that the UK don't trade with China and the like. Somebody else saying, how many people similar to your guest said at one point Donald Trump will never be president, so maybe the House will not flip.
Look.
Yep.
I was here and I told you that I thought he wouldn't win.
Yep, I know.
I can be wrong.
Yeah.
But I'm watching my red hat merch buying cousins and brothers opting not to vote in November.
That's interesting because your family was divided on this, weren't they? Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Tough to have a conversation around anything. Birthday, I'm sure we'll be civil if there's a death.
So they've changed tack.
Simply won't vote. Yeah. Because I'm asking them, did you vote for this? You voted for that man. He's doing this. Did you vote for this? I voted for Trump to bring down cost of taxes of gas to my gasoline. So you know what you voted, what you got. Got this whole package. You're happy with that? Shut up. Let's have a beer.
Just briefly, because I have to move on because I could talk to you all day. Will you tell me what your brother is doing? Because I'm fascinated by this in terms of the training that he's undertaking.
I'll email you the training package.
Yeah.
No, it's about unarmed combat, what you can and can't do with your body, what you shouldn't wear. The voice, like the essential thing. I said, Dave, what should I bring? He said, bring a whistle. And if you have that balaclava, bring that with you too. I said, I can't wear a balaclava because I have a ski mask. He says, nah. He says, no, gas mask then. So he comes fully equipped, and he has his own personal Kevlar.
To a protest, I guess.
Yeah, he just stands there, and it's a matter of what you do now. Do you run at the ice guy? Do you just stand there? So just standing there is fine. If they ask you to move, you can not move and see what happens.
But you could be killed.
Right. Kevlar is what he has. So he's willing to take.
So this is protection. This is like
he's willing to take. He's willing to take a hit. No, I mean, like, the problem is, my brother has a very short fuse. If someone hits him, I would not like to be on the receiving end of what he can do. I mean, this kid was not allowed to play American football in high school because he broke bones when he hit people.
Wow. In
full pads. He could concuss you and he broke bones. And they said, you cannot play this game. You're just your tackles are too violent. He'd never make it in rugby because of the way you have to tackle in rugby. But, like, he was going for break your knee.
And is he going to take part in?
He's going to observe. I'm just an observer, as he tells me. They can write Dave.
Well, Tom Homan is saying they're going to pull back, though. On
that's good. I mean, but there's a lot of people like my brother.
Yes.
Who's saying, look, I'm ready to go, but they aren't as kitted out as he is.
That's very frightening, though.
No, it is. But I mean, you have the right to bear arms, Fran.
But
America.
I mean, and that's one thing. But what you're describing is almost military combat. You know,
it's what level you want to be at. They tell you, here's the kind of prosecution you're going to take with stuff you say or do. So stay in your lane. Make sure someone's videoing what you're doing so it's defensible.
Yeah. Somebody must know, what do you think of the relatively new New York City Mayor, Mamdani?
I like him.
You like him?
He's like, I mean, whether he could pull off what he's trying to pull off, I don't know. But I mean, he's a man of the people. Yeah. You find him out there at a 3 a.m. diner. You know, I mean, you can see a city at 4 o'clock in the morning by the cops at the donut shops and the mayor.
But did you ever think you'd see somebody with a Muslim background being the mayor of New York City?
Never.
All right, I must leave it there. Pleasure as always, Bernie.
Right.
Thank you so much for your time. We'll take a break. Back in just a moment.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, puck on. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Councillor Pamela Quirk recently spoke to us on the show to share her dismay at the high levels of dumping in the lovely Silver Mines area. Well, Teresa Collins was in touch and joins me now. Good morning to you, Teresa.
Good morning, Fran. How are you?
I'm well and lovely to talk to you as always, Teresa. This kind of resonated with you because you know of a similar situation in Newport, I think, Teresa.
Well, Fran, I'd say being involved with the tidy towns now, we have it in our own little wee village of Portrue. Again, people just making ill use of the amenities there. Like, we have bottle banks, we have closed banks, but just leaving them in bags outside, duvets and all that, now they don't go into the bins. And then it's the people on the tidy towns comes along, and we're the ones have to pick them up and tidy them up. And, you know, I mean, if people are willing to drive to a car to a bottle bank to leave them, at least put them in, you know, that sort of a way. And I mean, you'll be looking at all sorts. It's just it's gone beyond a joke, like, you know.
Yeah, because I mean, what Pamela described to us, the level of littering. We're not just talking about somebody throwing something out the window of a car here. It's deliberate, commercial scale littering in some of these cases.
In some cases, yeah, 100%. Now, again, as I say, right, a bottle bank can get full fairly easy, and it's good to see people using them and using them correctly. Yeah. And so can a closed bank. But if they're full, at least say, well, right, I'm after coming this far. If these are full, there's another one within, say, Newtown, Garrykindi, that there's other areas around that you can use them. Don't just throw them in a bag for us to pick up. I mean, we often, when we're picking them up, and sometimes if the dogs go through them, if dogs are rambling, it's torn, there'll be broken glass. We're using our own lives, I suppose, or taking our own into our own hands the way we're doing it. And I mean, we're only voluntary workers trying to keep the place clean and tidy and make it look nice for everyone that's living there. It's not done for, you know, it's done for the sake of beauty and, you know, keeping things right.
And how frustrating is it, Teresa? I think I spoke to you about this before. You know, here you and your colleagues tidying up after people just being thoughtless and stupid.
It's very frustrating, friend, because as I say, we're a small group. We're always looking for people to come and join in, and we'll never stop anyone from coming. You don't have to be an expert gardener or anything like that, but come on, join in. And till they actually see the amount of work that he's done behind the scenes that we say nothing about. You know, there is a lot of planning and there is a lot of coming out in the winter, out in the wet, and we do it. And, I mean, we have two fantastic lads there on the force. And, I mean, the amount of rubbish they pick up from the small village of Portrue is unreal. But if they weren't there to do it, it'd be, you know what I mean, litter full, like. And another fact is, a lot of it is too, when the people mightn't realise it, but when they have their own bins out, if you happen to let down and it's windy and the next thing it falls out of the bins and it's gone all over the place as well. You know, you just got to be, say, when you're putting out and say, right, it's going to be a stormy night, I'm going to put a block or something on top of my bin so it's nothing will come out of it. Simple thing like that, like, you know.
Yeah, and are people, is it improving at all in your experience of this, Teresa?
No, I think it's getting worse.
Is it?
It's getting
worse. I mean, we're more educated about the environment than we've ever been, you know?
We are, but it's to put the education into practice. And again, as I say, especially in housing estates and stuff like that, I mean, the bins go around now. Fred, I don't have bins myself because I'm on my own, so my rubbish is very light. And what I try to do is I'd wait till I'm going into the bin and recycling, and I take in maybe 3 or 4 bags together, that sort of a way. Mm. Right, it cost me 10 or 15 euros. That's not bad. Mm. You know, I mean, do it. And my neighbour, we might share between us and the two of us. He'd be going in and he'd take my bags and I'd throw him a tenner. You know, you can do it. It's just people have to learn how to clean up after themselves, if that sounds right. Mm. Yeah. You know, and I mean, we want is a clean, tidy community, because when we're judged in June, and the kids are nearly off of school at this stage, so the kids can't be blamed for any of it, because the kids are actually very good, I have to say. But when you go up then and you know your man is coming on June or whoever's coming on to judge us, and the next thing you look and you have 5 or 6 duvets thrown outside, 4 or 5 bloody bags. And they could have been on that day judging, and they see that, and then that's marked down against us again, you know?
It's very disappointing indeed. So, final word to people out there, Teresa. Let's make it quite clear what you're saying to them.
Plain and simple. Think about what you're getting rid of. Think if there's another way of doing it. And think about the people who is actually the ones that has to go up to beside them recycling bins, clear up the glass, clear up whatever is there. And they're doing it voluntary. And just think about human nature in their own way.
Yeah. Okay, well said to you. I know we were talking about board games over the last few days as well. You were telling Leanne you love board games.
Oh, friend, we love them. And I learned how to add and subtract on a dartboard from 501 and the 301.
Did you?
I tell you, it was the best educational way to learn me maths you could ask. So it was. Yeah. And even the ring boards, I mean, there's so much into it. Now, I notice, well, I don't, as I say, my children are grown up now, but there was always a night we kind of have a game of darts, you'd have a game of ring boards, snakes and ladders, just a conversation would start and you'd have a crack at the end of it and have a little treat, maybe they'd win a bear or something. You know, but it was a great way of getting a conversation started, not having a phone.
Well, absolutely. But as a Republican yourself, Teresa, what do you make about this new proposal to do this sort of board game that will be around the history of the Troubles in the North? Would that trouble you that would be turned into an entertainment of types?
No, friend, because, listen, if that's the case, they could stop Monopoly, they could stop Operation and the rest of them. Monopoly is kind of like a banker's game again, you know what I mean, getting money. Yeah. You could treat it that way. And the other operation then is like going in on the real operations, and you know what I mean? No. Look, history has to be learned, and it's not been learned to the correct standard. As we're finding out, and you know it yourself, the real history and the troubles of the 1960s and the whole lot is starting to come out now through, and what was hid underneath, and it's only now rising to the top.
Right.
And we're getting the truth out. Because, again, and I'm going to say the large scale of the media, which would have been the, not local as such, but the RTE, which was the 60s and 70s, it wasn't bought out. The truth wasn't bought out. So I think it's nothing wrong with it. I think it's an idea to try. You can try it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Right. But you've tried it.
And are you saying to me the fact that it might spark conversation and debate would be a good thing, Teresa. Is that it?
Fran, I think the only way of getting anything sorted out is conversation and debate.
Yeah.
And that's between all, because I remember going back a few years ago now, and I'm going back to the late Martin McGuinness when he became Minister for Education above in the North. And he himself and Ian Paisley as well, they had a conversation, and Martin turned around to Ian and he just said, well, Protestant children needs education too. And that was the start of a fantastic friendship between the both of them. So, you see, I think hiding our history and hiding the truth doesn't do anyone any good. And we know that would not just North and South and other issues as well. And, you know, I think to get things sorted, you'll always have a good from each side, and that's what you have to get on in this world. Because I was listening to that gentleman now beforehand. Actually, I tell you, I'm after learning a lot
from Bernie Goldbach, yes.
Absolutely. Do you know what? We don't know what half the world has for us at all. Genuinely, I'm after learning a lot there in the lesson. I'm going to go back on that and listen to it again.
Yeah, me too. I mean, and some people onto us to say they could have listened to him for hours talking about this. And
you could, because we're getting the truth out. This has not been brought out on television. This truth has not been brought out. Now, I know this new thing on the AI is that you go into airports, and he was correct and right. They're even scanning you now when you're waiting in the queue on an airport now. The new scanner's out.
And does that trouble you, Teresa?
Where are they holding that information?
Yeah, does that trouble you?
Fran?
Does that trouble you?
It does, because it's invasion of my privacy.
Yeah, well, Jim O'Callaghan recently, you know, was advocating that the Gardaí would have more powers in criminal investigations to get into people's phones and the like. Do you think, are we going down a slippery slope, do you think, with all of this?
Fred, I think we've gone down a slippery road long, long ago, and that's being honest. I can understand it used in law with a person maybe has convictions. I can understand that 100%. But the likes of me that hasn't any convictions, thanks be to God and touch wood, I find it very invasive to go in on my private. You know, I do. I'm not going to be going out now and running the riot. I don't think I will at this stage of my life anyhow. But at the same time, I'm entitled to my privacy there. And I think once you come in under the radar of the law and in under the radar of security, whatever way you like it, and once you're up first offence, well, then you have the right to maybe work on it there, but not on the right of the normal people that's going through an airport.
All right, Teresa, great to talk to you as always on several issues there. But look after yourself, Teresa, and thank you for coming on with me. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Jenna. Teresa Collins speaking to us there. Back in just a moment.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage Puckon. Now is the time to pick up your next van. From the award-winning Peugeot Partner van to the Expert and the load-lugging Boxer van. We have big vans, high-roof vans, long wheelbase vans. You'll find them all at Slattery's Garage Puckon. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Join the conversation in Tipperary. Contact us through Facebook, Twitter, or email tiptoday@tippfm.com.
One listener says, I would really hope that our St Patrick's Day parades around the country will not become political tools about DEI, as we're being fed enough of that on TV and radio. Celebrate our history, our culture, and our people. I don't care if it's just tractors and trucks. Just come together and remember who we are, says one of our listeners. So DEI, it's all about diversity and inclusion and that. Now, many of us of a certain vintage, we're struggling with artificial information and all of that. And Leanne is with me. Leanne, tell me about your goddaughter who is 7. She seems to have more of a grip on this than we do.
Yeah, my little goddaughter Kaylee, she's 7, and her mother was in the house last night and we were having a bit of a debate over a picture she was showing us, and we were saying it was AI. So my little goddaughter Kaylee, I said to her, Kaylee, what's AI? She knew just as much as I did. So I decided, I got a clip of it. I said, hold on a second now so I can play this for everybody.
Right, so this is her explaining
AI
to you, which is artificial intelligence. All right, okay, let's have a listen to her. And her name is?
Kaylee.
Okay, here's Kaylee.
Kaylee, you're 7 years old and I'm trying to find out what AI is because I'm a bit stuck. Will you tell me what AI is?
It's a bit of something what looks like real, but it's not real.
And how do you use AI?
So, No, it's basically maybe in a picture or maybe in a story.
And have you ever seen AI pictures?
No, but I do see AI videos.
Oh, where'd you see them?
Oh, on YouTube somewhere.
On YouTube. And are you able to tell if something is real or if it's AI?
If it's maybe AI, it might be just for lecture than other things.
So you look at it and you can tell it's not real.
Yeah, it might be not real though. It might say it's AI somewhere, I think.
And is it ever hard to tell what's real and what's AI?
I don't know.
But you just know sometimes that it's AI.
Yeah, because AI looks much more realistical.
Realistical. And is it sometimes crazy things?
It looks like if you say it's a dog, what is big? It's AI.
And it'll show you a big AI dog.
Yeah, because I saw that on YouTube.
Wow.
Oh, it's brilliant. She's fantastic, isn't she? Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I genuinely, when she turned around and she knew what AI was at 7 and had seen it on YouTube and had seen the fact it says sometimes that it is AI, and to be able to turn around and say that, I was just gobsmacked.
Right, isn't it fantastic altogether? I think we're going to speak. Are we going to speak to a few 7, 8-year-olds and sort of talk to them about stuff like this over the coming weeks and months?
Yeah, they're very clued in.
Aren't they?
More so than we think. Things for us that are huge, like AI and it's groundbreaking, they've grown up with it.
Yeah,
the same with social media and TikTok, Roblox, all that stuff. That's
Roadblocks.
Yeah, the game. There was a lot of controversy over that game and privacy and safety. But these are the things that they've grown up with. So for Kaylee, talking about AI was completely normal.
Isn't it absolutely incredible? Well, fair play to her. It's a lovely piece, and I love the way she speaks as well. It's absolutely, and she wants to be a journalist, the poor Beth.
Yeah, she wants to be a news reader.
Is there any way you can talk her out of that?
Kaylee Furlong on Tipp FM News is her favourite line.
Well, it has a certain ring to it, that's for sure. Huge response to Bernie this morning. Many people saying we should have had him on for longer.
It's just eye-opening.
Isn't it?
And I think to hear it like that, and you kind of see that shift even online, people who would have come out a lot in support of what was going on have kind of stepped back. And it's really people on the ground who have experience in the US that have this insight that we can't get from social media or looking at articles.
But to hear that his own family was so divided about the whole Trump thing, it's just
that's a big thing now. A lot of families in this day and age, in Ireland as well, have agreed no politics at the dinner table.
Yeah. One of our listeners onto us about that, in fact, saying any time in the last few years if my family go out to an event or dinner, we all first have to agree not to mention politics at all. Now, it used to be a case you couldn't discuss religion or politics going out, but it seems to be politics now at this point. Thanks for that, Leanne. If you want to talk to Leanne, it's 1800 938 007. News and information's coming up.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. Over half a century driving the people of Tipperary and surrounding areas with quality, reliable and economical vehicles, new and used. Call the sales team today to discuss your next car or van on 067 24 111.
Thanks, Pat. Welcome back to the final hour of Tipp Today, and it is time for our Friday panel, and glad to be joined by Councillor Liam Brown. Joe Leahy is with us, founder of Seesaw Security Consultant, and Colette Roach with us as well from the South Tipperary Fianna Fáil's Women's Network, and of course constituency organiser for Fianna Fáil in South Tipperary as well. You're all extremely welcome, and thank you for coming in to us today. Can I start with just the Cashel angle, because I was speaking to Martin Brown earlier on about the decision to hold the St Patrick's Day parade on Saturday evening, late Saturday afternoon, the 14th. And Colette, a lot of controversy around this. I know the Chamber weren't happy at one stage. Martin was saying that maybe they're happier now with the decision. What's your understanding?
Yeah, it's unfortunate, that controversy has kind of come around for something that should be a very positive event for the town. I do think that Saturday night, it doesn't make any sense to me. I'm also not sure, where this decision, how many people were involved. It seems to be 2 or 3 people made the decision.
Well, it was the St Patrick's Day Parade Committee. So.
Yeah, but I'm not sure how many people are on that committee. there was invitations went out on Facebook that nobody seems to have seen. Now I know obviously this week's or meeting was cancelled and
Wally's passing,
for Wally's passing, and I'd like to pay tribute to Wally, all the hard work that she did with the committee over the years and in different organisations in the town. So it's a shame that it has kind of caused controversy. I personally have a thing about the Saturday night. I'm not really sure it's going to work. I don't know why there's such an objection about going from the Rock. It worked very well in other years. All the organisations said it was a safe place to take off from.
I think one of the reasons being that it's not as disruptive to traffic if they do the route that they're proposing to do.
Yeah, but like for the sake of a couple of hours of one day, I don't think there's ever been any huge objections before. Like, it was well organised in time that that the
but
roads
what about
would be
the
stopped.
argument, Colette, that last year was a Sunday? It was the day before. It was the 16th.
and that was something that was, they tried it out and said to see would it work on a Sunday, and I could see, like, because Patrick's Day was on a Monday. Now a lot of people did object to it being on a Sunday because they were saying it's nice you'd have got the 2 days because you'd have had the shops open again on Patrick's Day, but it was quite successful on a Sunday. I'm not sure it being on a Saturday evening, and also I'm not sure as well. I've spoken to a few people who are chairs of committees, and I myself, I'm going to include myself in that. I wasn't contacted about, and we were going to put a float in the Cashel Parish Rose Green.
And will you not do so now?
Well, it's not that we won't. It's just that would we have, like, a Saturday evening is right in the, it's kind of in the middle of mass time, so I'm not sure if we'd be able, because I think our choir is singing that night as well.
Well, it's 4:30, so it's
yeah, but mass is 6 o'clock, so you'd obviously the priest might be available now to do something. Right. But I'm kind of meriting on the Saturday night thing.
Divisive then?
It's become divisive, and should it have had? I'd like to have seen more people involved in the decision making, and I kind of want to see the understanding of where they were going with the Saturday night, as opposed to it being on a Sunday or on the day itself.
Well, as I say, Martin spoke to us earlier on, and that's what he spoke about, was the availability, more people available maybe on the Saturday evening, not as disruptive where traffic is.
You're taking people then out of the, like Cashel was always a big parade. It was always a hub of where people wanted to go. Like, you had people, organisations in other towns and villages that came to Cashel. So why are we saying that we're going to facilitate people to go other places rather than come into the town on Patrick's Day?
Right, but their argument would be last St Patrick's Day, it wasn't on St Patrick's Day either.
I'd say it was kind of a trial to see how it would go.
All right, Liam, can I get a viewpoint from you on that?
Yeah, you can, Fran. First of all, I'm loath to criticise any volunteer or any committee, because I do know how hard it is to get volunteers to go on committees. Yeah. So the work that they have done is good, and the fact that they want to do it is good. I was on that committee myself last year, and before anyone criticised me for criticising people and not being on the committee, the reason I didn't go onto it this year was because, similar to what Colette was saying, I'm involved with a group in Cashel called the Cashel, and we had intended on putting a float into the parade, so I didn't think that I had the time to both look after putting a float in and be involved in the organising of the parade, because many of the Cashel volunteers did help out last year as marshals. There's been a lot of disquiet in town over this decision. When it was first announced a couple of weeks ago that it was on Saturday evening, to be honest, it's not disquiet, it's incredulity. I think it's an absolutely bonkers decision. I've said it publicly. I said it when it came out first. I don't think it's going to work. I think there's many reasons why it shouldn't be on Saturday evening, to be quite frank, Fran. I would have actually, had it been on the committee, argued for it to be on Sunday again. I thought it worked quite well Sunday last year, even though it wasn't on St Patrick's Day. The reason being is, it helped us to get the kicking band over from Tipperary town, and again, if it wasn't on the same day as the other parades around this year, we might have been able to get some more bands and have a bigger parade in Cashel. I don't think that's going to work on Saturday evening.
But would there not be even more bands available on the Saturday evening?
I don't think so, because, look, first of all, you're talking about looking after clubs, and you're expecting parents to go out on Saturday evenings. I mean, people work on Saturday evenings. People go to matches. As Colette said, you're now up against mass at 6 o'clock on Saturday evening. I know from speaking to some of the clubs and people who would have been involved in looking after kids that they're not happy with being out Saturday evening. It's starting at 4:30. We're still dark pretty early at this time of year, so it'll be dark around 6 o'clock.
And since I spoke to Martin, did you tell me, has there been a statement from the Chamber?
Yeah, just as I was coming in here to say it, I mean, there's a statement from the Chamber, and this just shows the divisiveness of the issue, or the disquiet around it. Apparently, I didn't hear Martin's interview, so I'm not going to say what he said, but I can only say what the Chamber said. And the Chamber said that that the committee felt that the Chamber were on board. The Chamber have made it very clear they're not on board. Just 1 second, Fan, I just get it here now. I have it in front of me. I mean, it's very clear. The Chamber is not supporting how the decision has been reached, and they're disappointed that the views of the clubs, schools and community groups have not been taken on board. You know, Colette covered a lot of it there. First of all, I think, apart from the fact that St Patrick's Day is a community event, and it should be child-based, really. It should be children-focused, that we should have a really nice evening for children. Bringing kids out on an even time on Saturday evening in the dark by the time they go home is not the right decision.
But it's not going to be dark, is it?
Well, you know, if it starts at 4:30, well, I'd like to think that people will be hanging around Cashel for 2 or 3 hours, because that's the idea of having them hanging around and spending money in shops and stuff. Most of the shops on Saturday evening will be closed.
Right, so that's the problem the Chamber
You know, that's the problem the Chamber have. So, and again, like I said, low to criticise the committee, but I think a lot of people wanted to get involved in the decision or have their opinion heard when they heard the first time round a week and a half ago, and they did. I do know that more people were going to go to a meeting this week, but unfortunately I'd like to pass condolences to the family of Wally Ryan. They didn't get to go to the meeting, and now suddenly the decision has been made. So the people who wanted to have their opinion heard, who were told they would get a chance to have their opinion heard, it just seems they're not going to.
All right, you're not in the area, Joe, but when you hear this kind of division in a town over something like the parade, it's a pity, isn't it?
Oh, it is, Fran. I suppose a bit of knowledge I have. I was on the Patrick's Day Parade Committee here in Clonmel for a good few years, and what we was always trying to do really and truly was you'd have to stage the time of it, because, you know, you'd get a band, we'll say, from Cashel. They'd be in the front of the parade in Cashel, you know, and then if that was 2 hours earlier, then they'd be able to come into the back of the parade in Clonmel. Yeah. Just that you'd have 2 bands rather than 1 band. And you might say, God, that's very simple stuff. But 2 bands in the parade made a huge difference altogether to the actual parade. But I think it's a great opportunity missed. You know, I would agree with the lads. Like, you know, I think a Sunday evening, you know, or Saturday evening. Saturday evening is different thing altogether.
You know, I think Carrick-on-Shore made a great stride there in the nighttime aspect to their parade, and very successful.
Well, you see, it depends. People don't like change, for starters, in anything that they do. They don't like change. People like to be involved. They like to have their tuppence worth put in, you know. And I think, you know, I don't necessarily agree like with that you're, you know, not causing as much disruption, you know. So there's more disruption now, like with roadworks, than anything else, and disruption is part of it and part of life, and you know, it's part of the occasion. And I would honestly hope like that, you know, there's a bit of time yet. I would hope that would be sorted out without any faces being embarrassed either, you know, that let's get together and get on with it.
I'm sure the discussion will go on. But speaking of St Patrick's Day, there's been much debate in recent weeks about whether the Taoiseach should make the annual visit to the White House on St Patrick's Day, and Fionn Sheehan spoke to us the other day about an opinion piece that he had where he said absolutely that he needs to go for pragmatic reasons. Can I start with you where this is concerned? Should he go?
He absolutely should go. There is no reason, you know, given, I know we fundamentally disagree. We all disagree with what's going on in America and the kind of antics that Trump is up to, but we have to think bigger than that. The Taoiseach is not going to America for Trump. He's going for us. He's going to promote the people of Ireland. He's going to promote our culture, our businesses. He's going to meet businesses out there. You can't just pick and choose just because we disagree with who's in the office. I think it's actually a great opportunity for him to, even if it's privately in their own private meetings, you know, to speak to him about that the opposition that the people in Ireland have about what's going on in Minnesota and Los Angeles and Venezuela. So they're an opportunity. So I don't think you give up those kind of opportunities to go out there and have your voice heard. So I think those meetings are a positive thing.
Ruth Coppinger had a right go at him in the Dáil. I'm not sure if you saw that piece, but she stopped just short of saying he was a coward, that he backed away from voicing the opinion of what she said would be the Irish people's opinion about this.
Well, he'd be a coward not to go, to be honest with you. You know, as I said,
47% of Irish people in that Business Post poll saying he shouldn't go. Did that surprise you?
It did, actually, yeah. Because anyone that I've spoken to, anyone in politics, all feel that it would be an opportunity missed to go.
Yeah. Joe, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I wonder what those 47% work for a living, what do they do or what they don't, or do they work at all? I think no matter who is at the Taoiseach, regardless, if you look at the history of on the Taoiseach, you have to go. I don't think there's even up for discussion. I think if you look at the benefits that this country, this little island of ours, have gained from down through the years from attending with the Bowl of Shamrock and the whatever else, and you'd have the pint here now and again and all that kind of stuff. Look at the factories we've got in, look at the employment we've got in, look at the relationships we've got in. You know, I don't like when these people come out and say we should be standing up for ourselves and fighting our corner. We're a dot. We're a little dot on the corner of the world, like, right? We're lucky to be where we are. We're lucky to have what we have. And I think the best way we can do this is keep going is through dialogue, communication. I think it's a privilege to be asked. And whatever Taoiseach is there, now or in the future, they should... delighted to be asked and delighted to go.
And one of the things that came up in the conversation was this isn't a sort of a diplomatic tap that you can turn on and off, like to say, oh, we won't go this year now because we're annoyed about so-and-so, but we'll go next year. But you mightn't get to go next year.
Well, it's like the old invitation, Fran. You know, if you get it, you either take it or you don't take it. And if you don't take it, you mightn't be invited again.
Yeah.
And it is an invitation, and I can't just decide to rock on and say, oh, I'll tell you, Colette, you stay at home next year, I'm going to study you. It doesn't work like that. Like, it's a privilege to be there. I honestly mean that now. I think we're lucky that we are in the place we're in. What can we do about Minnesota, or what can we do about Greenland? We can voice our opinion, we can say this and we can say that. At the end of the day, what do? We go along, we show cause, we're good at communication, we do that. The Taoiseach goes out, hands over the Bowl of Shamrock, gets on with it and whatever else. I think it's a must that we should go.
Liam, should he go?
On balance, I think he should, yeah. I think obviously there's a fight between the heart and the head when you make a decision like this, and the heart would say like we shouldn't be giving credibility to Donald Trump and his administration, but the head would say that, apart from Micheál Martin handing over a Bowl of Shamrock, you also have big delegations from the employers, the big commercial. It's after coming out of my head now, the name of the organisation that looks after bringing in multinational employment and foreign direct investment into the country.
The IDA.
The IDA, that's it. I was trying to get it. I was thinking IFA. I'm thinking about the IFA all week with other stuff, Fran, but the IDA. Yeah, look, there's more to it. And as you said, there's diplomacy doesn't start and finish with Donald Trump. I mean, Donald Trump will be gone in 3 years' time. We hope, I suppose. God knows what Donald Trump will do, but maybe staying on after that. But you then have to deal with the administration that comes in afterwards, and they may not forget what is a snub. And not too many countries, if any at all, get the sort of coverage that we get every single year. We know we're going to be there every single year.
Are you across? I mean, it's not just about passing over the bowl of. I mean, it's all the lunches and the dinners and the get-togethers. And
that's what I'm saying with the idea. Not just the idea, but the American Chambers of Commerce and the Irish Chambers of Commerce meeting each other at a very personal level. I mean, in reality, the handover of the Bowl of Shamrock is simply a press opportunity for both the Irish and the American leaders. It goes on for 10 minutes, they take pictures and off they go. That's not the real purpose of the meeting. If it was, we will send over a Bowl of Shamrock in a box. The real purpose of the meeting is what you just said. It's the other relationships that you're keeping in touch. It's the meeting the mayors of Chicago, meeting the mayors of New York. I mean, it's not just Micheál Martin goes over there. He brings over a huge delegation, and as soon as they hit America, they head off to the four corners of the states, meeting all different groups in different areas. So, look, people have their opinions on Donald Trump. Some like him, some don't like him. Some think he's the greatest thing to slice pants. Some thinks he's the devil incarnate. I have a few opinions on him myself, some good and some bad. But the reality is Donald Trump isn't the United States. And Ireland has to deal with the United States, whether we like it or not, because we are the starting point for an awful lot of American industry into Europe. And we should be very, very glad of that, because it brings an awful lot of employment, and we can't be snubbing their leader, as much as people might not like the man.
All right, let me take a break. We'll be back with our panel in just a moment.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage Puckon. Now is the time to pick up your next van. From the award-winning Peugeot Partner van to the Expert and the load-lugging Boxer van. We have big vans, high-roof vans, long wheelbase vans. You'll find them all at Slattery's Garage Puckon. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage Puckon. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Now, welcome back to our Friday panel, but we're going to interrupt our panel just for a moment because earlier on this morning I was speaking to Martin Brown, who is part of the committee, the St Patrick's Day Committee in Cashel. We were talking about the controversy around the holding the parade, and the decision seems to be made now that it's going to happen on Saturday the 14th, ahead of St Patrick's Day at 4:30. But as I say, some controversy, particularly controversy coming from the Chamber. I'm glad to be joined now by Gavin O'Dowd, and Gavin is President of Cashel Chamber of Commerce. Good morning to you, Gavin.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm very well indeed. Good to talk to you today. What exactly is your stance on this at this point, Gavin?
Well, you see, when we took over the Chamber before Christmas, our main stance for everything was inclusion. We've asked for it over and over, and with that we've been getting a lot of backing from clubs and everyone else around the place, and even the community. We've asked the parade committee to do the exact same thing. Instead, they have now doubled down. They've completely ignored the business community. They've completely ignored the clubs, schools, and everyone else is asking for a very specific thing. People are not saying to me that they're against having it on a different day than Patrick's Day, but what they are against is having it on so late in the evening. Now, and even moving away from the Rock of Cashel, people are very, very concerned about kids and so on, because as they're saying to us, is that that's a nice, safe location. Now, the Chamber itself has nothing to do with the parade, but because their committee shut everybody off so much, people had nowhere else to turn, and they started contacting us. So that's why we spoke out. Now, since we spoke out, we have been contacted by the committee to remove all comments, to not have a view on it, and to take down any posts that we have got to do with it. And even as Martin Brown has said that himself quite clearly earlier on.
And did you do that, Gavin? Did you take down some of the commentary?
Absolutely not.
Right.
Now, considering who's asking me to do this, I do find it quite interesting. Like, this is an ex-TD that we're talking about, and an active councillor. They're telling us what we can and can't communicate. We cannot stand for that in any way, shape or form. Like, the Chamber has an opinion and is allowed an opinion. And to say to us that we can't have one, when all we're doing is speaking up for people.
Right, and is that not an attempt, to Gavin, in some way, just to heal division within the town?
Well, not really, because what happened is three members of their committee came in here to me, into my own business, to speak to me on different occasions. And each occasion I asked him, I met the argument against them of what people are feeling. Like, people did ask that could they have a meeting in a central location in something like Hollandafela. I was told no. I asked them, could they do it during the day? Again, this was a feeling that people were asking for. They said no. We have asked them, we'd say what people's feelings are on this. We have statements from schools and everything else. We have passed them on. And we even told them we're willing to pass them on. There's no issue. They can read them. We have spoke to teachers, we have spoke to principals, we have spoke to clubs, we have spoke to people over clubs, and everyone's opinion is exactly the same. So when someone is saying to us and keeps saying to us that our opinion is completely different, I'm not sure where they're getting it from. All we're asking for is inclusion. That's it. We're just asking that if there's decisions being made for the town, that the community itself is involved in those decisions.
And can I put some of the issues that Martin put to me this morning, which is that, it's going to be easier to get more bands, so it'll be more inclusive from that point of view. It'll be less disruptive where traffic is concerned as well with that new route. What about those?
Well, that's fair enough. If that's his argument to it, that would be nice to hear into the community itself. Instead of, he never discussed that with anyone. He went straight onto the radio and said that. Now, I don't believe that. I'm just going to be perfectly honest with you. Like, I have had these discussions already with councillors and so on, what day should be held on. Even with Liam on it there, I'll have a discussion all day with Liam about it. But the difference is, when Liam is suggesting that he was having it the day before or a different day from Patrick's Day, he's actually having an open discussion with us on it and why he believes that. We're not shutting down things like that at all. All we're asking for is a discussion be had with us.
Right, but the only thing I'd say to you, to be devil's advocate on it, I mean, if there is a committee to organise the St Patrick's Day parade, Gavin, I mean, that's their job to do, and that's what they've done. No, you mightn't like the decision, but it's their decision. You know?
No, I completely agree with you, and I wholeheartedly stand over to get what you're saying to us. But the thing is this: is that you're asking the community involvement, and it's the community who's actually in the parade. So when you shut them out of it, and you tell them that this is what they're doing, that becomes an issue. Like when people come up to you and they say to you, well, we don't agree with these times because of kids and everything else. And it's been brought up to us that the main kids that are going to be in the parade are under the age of 10. And people are saying to us straight out that anything after 5 o'clock is unfair to them. A lot of people have said to us that they like to bring the kids after the parade down to get ice cream and so on. That's now off the table, and that option shut down to them. Like, we have a coffee culture, and we have a serious coffee culture in Cashel. Now, all of a shot, what they've done is they've made sure that all coffee shops are closed. Like, it is our job to speak up for businesses. And when they turn around at the end of the day and say to us that we're going to hold this when all businesses are closed, that becomes a real problem.
So, will you refuse to support the 2026 St Patrick's Day parade then?
I have made our position very, very clear on this with anyone. The reality is this: if all clubs and schools and everything else are in behind it, and if this is what they want, by all means the Cashel Chamber will get in behind them, and we will do our best to sell this to businesses. But the fact is that we keep hearing from absolutely everyone that they're not behind it. It's very, very hard for us to get behind it.
And Gavin, could you or somebody to represent Chamber not have joined the St Patrick's Day committee?
We were asked to go down to a meeting, we'd say last week, but as I did say to them, that we did state our feelings on it quite clearly to all members. So when that was ignored, we were kind of saying fair enough. We didn't realise there was a position open really for the committee. Well, realistically, we didn't really want to get involved with the committee. At the minute, we're looking to set up events for the summer and things like that. So we're going out of our way to include the community into it. We just presumed this is how this was going to work. We weren't expecting this to come back in a completely different direction.
Right, we gave Martin a chance to come back on with us, but he's chosen not to do so at this particular point. It's a pity it's divisive in the town, Gavin. That is a pity, isn't it?
It is a shame, because we never set that out. And again, I cannot stress this enough. All we're looking for is people to be included. That's it. Like, this shouldn't be comfortable. This shouldn't be a strange thing to people. Like, people really shouldn't be making decisions for other people. Let people join into the conversation.
Well, you see, I mean, but if that was the way, Gavin, nothing would get done. I mean, you have to put a committee together, and they're the workers, and they, you know, I mean,
I fully understand that, but when that committee is not working with who's even in the parade, like, you have to look at it. There's 22 groups that want to get involved in the parade. They have an email address for each and every one of them. I know this because I've been told this. All they had to do was send out a quick email to say, is there any chance that you mind if we do this? And this is the date and time that we're doing it on. Are you happy enough to go ahead with that? If people agreed with it, that's absolutely fine. But anything that they sent out, they did get back feedback from it. Right. And I do know the feedback they got back from it. Most people said that they prefer to have it during the day. That was completely ignored. And next minute, all of a sudden, we asked for an active meeting, and a few clubs have said that we want an active meeting. We have now heard on the radio today that these decisions are made, and that's that.
But if it seems to be the general decision to go along with this, you're saying the Chamber will buy into it, that you won't boycott it in some way?
Well, we're not looking to boycott anything. I will keep saying this. All we're looking for is that clubs and groups and businesses are included. That if there's a position out there and this position seems to be strong enough, that'll be listened to. I don't know who has agreed to this, because we keep asking who actually has agreed to this, and we can't get a straight answer.
It must be the committee. It must be the St Patrick's Day committee.
Well, I don't know, because when I asked two of them about it, they told me that this was all put out there. I asked, Councillor Declan Burgess about it, because he was away on holidays at the time. He came back and he said he has to go down and find out. These are the last things that we're hearing about. And next minute, we're told straight out that no, this decision is made. Like, people aren't happy about it. And they can think what they want, but they really aren't. And this is not trying to cause a divide in town. Nobody's trying to do that. The reality is all people want is to be included into this. And a decision like that to be made, like that's a pretty serious decision to go from St Patrick's Day parade to be on the 17th down to the 14th after, we say, 4:30 in the evening. That's a big, big change. And if you want to make a big change like that, you really should include the community and that's involved in it.
All right, Gavin, I'll leave it there, but thanks for your time this morning. Thank you. Good morning to you. Bye-bye. That's Gavin O'Dowd there as President of Cashel Chamber of Commerce. Just before we leave this, Colette, do you want a word on what you heard there? Would you go along with what was said?
I would. I mean, Gavin spoke very well and very eloquently and you know, put the points across that, you know, his concern about, you know, that businesses are not, and that clubs and organisations weren't really consulted about it. I do agree with you, Fran, that, you know, and as Liam said earlier, committees, it is very hard to get volunteers.
Absolutely.
And it's a difficult thing to be on any committee. I know that more than anyone. But you have to bring people along with you, and unfortunately, you know, this seems to have done the opposite. So I would urge the committee to maybe rethink it.
Liam, do you want a quick word on that before we go to
very
break?
similar to what Colette just said. I think there are still 6 weeks to go before St Patrick's weekend. I think there's plenty of time if people genuinely want to have the best weekend that we can have.
Are you calling for a change of mind here?
I certainly am, yeah. I said from the start I didn't think it was a good idea to put on Saturday evening. I understand that people will have different opinions to me, and that's fine. I'm not telling people what to do, but if people ask my opinion about Saturday evening, I would have said no, I don't think it's a good idea. Like I said, as Gavin spoke about, he mentioned me there. Me and Gavin have spoke about this in the past. Some people want it on the Tuesday on St Patrick's Day. I absolutely think that's a perfectly valid opinion. I prefer to go on Sunday for some of the reasons that the committee want to go on Saturday. But I think this is the issue, that lots of different people have lots of different opinions, but not a lot of people are making decisions. So I think we should revisit it, Jack.
Right, we must leave that there. We'll be back with our panel proper in just a few moments' time.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
If it matters to you, it matters to us. Call Tipp today on 1800 938 007.
And you're very welcome back to our Friday panel that went off on a slight tangent this morning. Colette Roach is with me, Joe Leahy, and Councillor Liam Brown as well. A new paper from the Iona Institute on the wrong course, birth, marriage and family trends in Ireland, found that marriage rate fell from 5.2 per 1,000 adults in 2004 to 3.8 in 2024. In 2023, just for context, the EU average was 4.0. Now, Breed O'Brien from the Iona Institute spoke to me the other day about this. And Joe, can I start with you where this is concerned? Because some might say that the decrease in birth rates, it's not a great problem because the population is growing anyway due to immigration and I suppose people living longer and the like. Is this an issue as far as you're concerned?
No, I think it's just a fact of reality, I suppose, maybe, Fran. Like, you know, when you look at everything right across the board, you know, times have changed from the 14 or 21 children in the family, like down along, you know, back now. Yeah. So what's this ideal family and whatever else? Like, everybody's looking at, look at the cost of living, look at the cost of buying a house, look at the cost of functionality in every aspect of it, like, right? And I think all these things, you know, they all play a part in it. And parents then have, you know, I'm not saying that parents before weren't educated, and I don't want that point to come out, but the reality is parents nowadays, and a lot of them are working and they have 2 jobs or whatever else, they want their own time out, they want to go on holidays, so hence they want a smaller family to be able to manage all that. It's a lot more planned. Yes. Maybe not, and that is the way life, that's a fact of life, that's the way life is. And as a result of that, then there's a knock-on effect.
Right, and this is reflected right across the world. This isn't just here in Ireland.
It's not just here in Ireland, and it reflects right across. And of course, then again, when you look at everything else, like, right, when you look at, we'll just say, you know, your local creamery, your local shop, all these things closing down, it's only natural that a lot of the country schools then, if they're affected by numbers and all that, so that aspect has to change as well, I think. You know, I think we need to keep rural. And I think when you look at families and when you look at all that, this one-off housing and all the planning, all that played a part into it. You know, you have big housing estates. I see some new housing estates now. I was up there the other day up in Newcastle or somewhere up in Kildare, you know, and you know, God, you wouldn't fit a wheelie bin in beside the house. Do you know what I mean? Like the back gardens are in the size of, you know, nothing. And there's no central green area for kids to play or anything like that. It's the modern concept.
So we learned no lessons from the past where that is concerned.
Absolutely, we didn't. And this all comes back then to smaller families and smaller units, you know, and less marriages and all that, you know.
Part of the issue is, Liam, before us, that, you know, rural schools now are finding it difficult to continue on with, you know, some classes I read about only 1 and 2 kids in them, so we're going to lose those schools in rural areas as well. Is that part of the issue here?
Yeah, look, that's part of the issue, but that's not the problem.
But it reflects the problem.
I understand. That's what I'm saying. That's what happens because of the problem. Look, I think it goes back to probably a generation ago, where there was a couple of decisions made at government which have made a huge has had huge influence in that. Now, 1992, contraception became available in Ireland, so that was, you know, a big factor in declining birth rate. Charlie McCreevy in 2001 removed tax credits for children and made people single people for tax credits, so you lost the ability to claim extra tax for having children, so that had an effect on it. And also the one which I consistently bang on about, and I think it's the root of the problem, is, you know, the removal of social housing in a big way, which meant that housing has got much more expensive. You know, if you can't afford a house, you're not going to start a family. So we are delaying when we start families.
So is housing core?
I think housing is the core, absolutely, Fran. You know, I mean, look, I moved out of my house into a rental flat. First time I think I was 20 years of age. The first time I was actually 19 when I first rented when I was in college. You know, you're now in your box room till you're 31, 32. The average age of starting a woman having a child in this country at the moment is 31, almost 32 years of age. So if you're delaying when you're beginning a family, you're going to have less children down along the line. What that causes is what you just said there. Yeah, we have a big problem, and it was the RT report I think you're referring to, where we start this discussion in Donegal, where schools are closing in Donegal. They're not just closing Donegal, they're under a big pressure in Tipperary. And Tipperary, while I was coming in checking it out, has one of the highest age profiles in the country. Because we're mainly still a very rural county, and an awful lot of our children are going away to Dublin. I mean, I have 2 children in Dublin at the moment. A lot of our children are going into the cities, so they're leaving Tipperary, they're not coming back. They're leaving Ireland and they're not coming back, unfortunately. And these are people who would have had kids in the country.
But our population is growing.
Our population is growing because of immigration, but that's not necessarily a good thing, Fran. You know, I mean, first of all, we have to have a replacement rate for Irish people because, you know, I don't want to get mad into the whole we need to preserve our Irish culture, but we do to an extent. We also have a problem with, you know, when you have a large amount of immigrant community come into the country, they repatriate a lot of the money back out of it again, you know. They send money home, so, you know, they're working here, they're generating money here, but that money is going back out of the country.
Now, you know what people are going to say, sure, we did that for generations.
Yeah, but just because we did it, Fran, you know, and I mean, let's be honest about it. I don't put up with that sort of nonsense as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, we might have done it, but that doesn't stop me complaining about it being done to us. I'd be absolutely straight about it. You know, we need to make sure that we have a viable population going forward that's going to be paying pensions for not just myself but for my kids and their kids, which we're not going to have if the replacement rate is below what it is at the moment.
I deliberately left you to last on this, Colette, but, you know, as a woman looking at these stats, what are you making of this?
Well, I would disagree with Liam slightly in that I don't believe the cause is housing. I think it's probably one of the features of it. But I think women have more choice now. Going back generations, and my parents' and grandparents' generation, the only choice really was that you were a homemaker and you were. Come down your hand over there.
No, I want to come back in on that.
Yes.
You know, that was the only choice that they had. Like, you got married and you had a family, you started a family, and the woman stayed at home.
Well, the church was hugely influential
and very
as well.
influential in that. It was a completely different society, and our society has moved on so much. Like Liam spoke, you know, contraception, like that was, you know, that was a complete taboo in Ireland in my parents' generation. So I think women have more choice now, and they're choosing a lot of the time not to have families or have smaller families because they now see that they want to work. Now, sometimes I feel when I'm going down to Cork and Tuesday morning, I'd love to bash a feminist over the side of the head that maybe I'd love to have stayed at home, but it's you know that people are kind of choosing now. Women are choosing that they want
when you
to
say
work.
they're choosing, but are they really choosing of themselves? Or their decision making, is it not dictated because now you need two people to work full time to pay an average
society
mortgage?
Has completely changed. We've kind of gone.
So how much choice do you really have, if you know what I mean?
Well, you see, we have the government have funded an awful lot in parental leave, and I think that's where a lot of that funding came from, to give women that longer time at home. Like we have. Outside of Scandinavia, I think we have the longest maternity leave in Europe. I think outside of Scandinavia and Belgium and Luxembourg. So like the government have brought in very good policies to help women stay at home longer after having kids and to have better choices.
Our birth rate is dropping.
It is, and that's because of age and having maybe kids later in life, and and just maybe choosing to travel. Those things weren't on the table for generations years ago.
Right? Yeah. Would you accept that, Joe? Do you accept that?
Some of it, I think, Fran. I think people, lifestyle, education has played a huge part in it. Opportunities have played a huge part in it. The freedom of each individual themselves, their own life choice, what their career choice, all what they want to do and all that. And you'd see people there like, if you heard younger couples like talking now, we have 2 or we have 3 kids or sometimes 4 kids and that's enough now, we're finished now, that's it. Because a lot of them were thinking, right, before, when Joe was born, Joe went away, he was a farm labourer, he was something like this. Now it is all college. And they're the parents nowadays are looking at the cost of all that, as Liam has referred to. There were, people in Dublin and Cork and Limerick and everywhere else. And the cost of all these things. So people are saying, well, to give every one of our children the fair chance and all this, then they're saying, well, hold on now, we need to cut our cloth according to our measure here. And all that, I think, is taken into the conversation.
So the kind of choice that Colette is talking about, I wonder how much of it is choice then? And I mean...
No, it's enforced.
It's enforced, isn't it?
Enforced
because of circumstances.
It is, absolutely.
Like You wanted to get in there when Colette was talking, I think.
I did, because, the main choice, as Colette was saying, women have more choice. The main choice that women don't have is to be mothers, Fran, in a lot of cases they don't have a choice.
They can't afford it.
And that's the reality. They can't afford it because, public policy has dictated that they can't. Childcare costs are ridiculous. We know that. Childcare costs in many places are the cost of a mortgage. And every year we get...
Well, it's going to be down to 200 by the end of 2030.
Yeah, but I mean, if you have 2 children, many people can afford an extra €400 per week, for childcare. Yeah. That's nonsense, really. I think in many of these surveys, when you ask women if they had the choice to be mothers for longer, they would be. I mean, it's all well and good having an extra...
I think that's true.
It's all well and good having an extra, 26 weeks or 52 weeks maternity leave. The child is still only one.
Yeah,
the child still has to be looked after for longer than that.
I agree that it would be nice to have the longer, to have the choice to stay at home if you want to.
Yeah.
Financially, some people probably can't do that. Speaking to a lot of my friends will say that would have had children in the last few years, they probably would have said sometimes it made more financial sense for them to give up work for a few years because between paying a mortgage and paying childcare, there wasn't really a huge benefit, so they chose to stay at home. But it does affect your career then. That being out of the workforce for a couple of years, it does. Like that's just the reality of it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, nowadays, thankfully mine are grown up now, but to have 2 in college, Liam,
well, that's what I'm saying. I've had 2 in college, and
at the same
if you
time,
work at all, look, Fran, here's the reality. The people who have the most children nowadays tend to be people who aren't working at all, and that's because they can avail of social housing. Once you go past a certain, and I've said this 101 times, once you go past a very, very low threshold of income, you're now into a stage where you have to provide all the housing costs yourself. And once you do that, you can't.
Housing again.
Yeah, once you do that, you can't afford to have kids, and that is the reality. The other reality is there's almost an anomaly in most Western countries that the more well off you become, the less children you have, which seems funny. The poorer countries are ones that have more children because we have more expectations about sending them to college. We want to leave our kids in a better place than we started with ourselves, but it's almost impossible to do that. And I know that in our own family, we may have wanted to have a 3rd child, but we just kind of sat down and said, the numbers don't dictate it, and it's an awful decision to have to make to decide, can you financially afford another child? And not the fact that you want to have another child and bring up another child. But there's an awful lot of parents nowadays are sitting down, and that's the decision they're making. If you're heading into a 35-year mortgage, which is going to take up 50% of your income, you cannot afford to take a year out or 2 years out to look after a child, because then you won't have a roof over your head.
All right, let me take a break. Back with our panel in a moment. Pat, just the final item on the programme today, but it does play into what we were discussing before the break. On yesterday's show, we played a fascinating clip from the archives where two reporters travelled to Clonmel in 1985 to ask a group of older women about society and its changes. The use of language in the clip was very interesting, but I mean, what really came across was that these women, they got married, and even when they were married, they had no sense of sex education. They didn't know what to expect. They had no idea what was going on, really. Joe, would it surprise you to know that that was the case?
No, not at all, Fran. I suppose, like back in the day, like, you know, the Catholic Church had such a power of control in this country. Like, it was absolutely, like, looking back now, it was embarrassing. It was also frightening. You know, like, women had to go into one part of the church. You know, like, I remember, you know, they had to wear the headdress going into the church, and it was all about control. You know, and the same thing. And with that, then, like, everybody did what they were told. You couldn't question anything. You were a complete rebel if you questioned anything, if you asked anything. And when it came to any kind of sex education, the opportunity of going to college, it was only the select few that had this opportunity, and everything was all controlled back in those days. And none of that would, like, as you know, could they go for politics? Not at all. Could they, you know, be chair of a committee or anything like that? Or,
There's no question.
Unheard of.
And
you know?
One of the things we heard from one of the ladies was that there was no question of them being brought out by the husband for a night out. That didn't. He went for his pints, but they weren't brought out. Now, as things improved a little, they might have been brought out on a Saturday night, maybe for a couple of hours.
Yeah, allowed into the snug in the pub, I suppose.
But, like,
you know?
I mean, this is only 25 years ago we're talking about now in terms of this conversation happening, Colette.
It was actually a brilliant piece. You know, those women were fascinating because it just gave us a snapshot in time of an Ireland we wouldn't recognise anymore. I mean, the Ireland that they were talking about is completely, it's gone. Like, there's so much knowledge out there now with, you know, contraceptive, abortion, divorce. I mean, those things were an absolute no-go subject before. And Joe talked about control, and that's exactly what it was. It was how to control women, how to be. The church wasn't about religion; it was almost about fear, you know. And women were controlled into, you know, this thing. And there was a very fascinating, she said, about the fallen woman. You know, that was
they referred to a single woman who had gotten pregnant as the women who fell.
The women who fell, you know, because that they were women that you didn't talk about, that they just disappeared, and that's what happened to a lot of those women. You know, that they disappeared into laundries and into institutions and were never seen by their family again. It's actually a frightening time when you think of it.
Just, yeah.
And I'm so glad that we've moved away from.
And the other thing is that in the last couple of weeks, Liam, funnily enough, we were speaking about, you know, the dance halls and the show bands of yesteryear, and people were indulging in nostalgia and how wonderful stuff was. It was great. And still we had this going on too.
Yeah, we had. Now, look, first of all, when you look at that piece, you're talking about the piece was in the 80s, but really they were reflecting
They were older women
of
in
the
80s being asked.
So, I mean, they were reflecting on their youth, which would have been another 30 years before that. Yeah, look, nostalgia is a great thing. We always think this, the summers were warmer and the winters were more snowy, and they weren't. I mean, the good old days weren't really that good, to be quite honest. If you go back into even my own time in school, you were made very clear who were the people who were more elite than you were, and you know, who sat at the right.
Oh, don't get me started.
You know,
Fran,
I mean, you grew up in a Cashel a couple of years before me, and you knew what side of the church you were allowed to sit on, or how far up along you were allowed to sit in the seats.
And if you came from the council houses,
that was it, you know. And you know, Fran, it's an awful thing that there's a little bit of snobbery around it, and that's what's stopping a lot of social housing being built nowadays, because it's almost snobbishly. We've managed to turn it snobbishly, which you shouldn't be. I'm very proud of the fact that I came from a council house in Oliver Runga Park, and I'll be quite happy to go back to, please God, someday. We have a different society, we have a more open society, but also I think what we've lost is community. And there's a difference in a society and a community, and I think we've become very, very individualistic nowadays in only looking after ourselves or looking out for number one. And I would guarantee you, if you went and spoke to those women 30 years ago, a lot of them would have come from corporation sites like the likes of Bankeny Drive and these places in Clonmel, and they would tell you that they're the best place ever to grow up in and live in. So, I mean, we need to get back, I think, a bit more community, but we also need to make sure that we never allow the control of people that happened in the past to happen again. Because there are people, and you mentioned, just to pass it on, before the piece we spoke before about the Iona Institute, The Ione Institute is an institute which would be quite happy to bring us back to that time in Ireland.
Well, it would promote marriage, and it would promote religion.
It would promote a lot of the values, and it would promote a lot of things that we would be pushing back against, and we pushed back against for 30 years. So I wouldn't like that aspect of it back. But I certainly do think we need to get back to a more community-focused, community-based society where we look out for each other.
Yeah, but some of those communities, there was an element of looking out for each other, Joe, but there was also being ostracised from those communities, or, you know.
Oh, yeah, both thrived successfully, right? I would have seen, like, going to school, you know, you could see from day one, and back to what Liam said, you know, you could see the social divide, and that continued on, and whoever got the Leaving Cert, the social divide still there, and the people that got the opportunities, you could see who was brought to the front of the class and who was the intelligent people like me were fired back in the back of the class, and that's the way life was. And you were reminded regularly where your position in life was, and that was what it's about. And if you go back, like, you know, to, you know, people writing books, and go back to the great, you know, Alice Taylor, who wrote "It Takes a Village to Rear a Child."
Sure, yeah.
Isn't it so true? You know, let the village be our own houses, let the village be your community, let the village be, you know, because that's where you learned, and that's where you got your education, and that's where you also got your security there, you got your safety there, you know, and all that applied, you know. But the class distinction, like, was horrendous, you know.
And do we talk about that enough? Because whenever I get a chance to get my high horse about this, I do. It didn't even matter at one stage how bright and intelligent you were. It really mattered where you came from.
Where you came from, yeah. I mean, I was the same. I grew up in Spallfield in Cashel, and very proud of it. And we had a fantastic community there, and I loved the road we were living on. And actually, those women reminded me of my next door neighbour, Miss O'Connell. She was great for the stories and telling us what it was like years ago, and she used to tell me about when she got married. And I won't tell the stories now, but so it reminded me a lot of the things that she used to talk about. I remember my husband's grandmother, she had a phrase for it was over the blanket, children that were born out of wedlock, over the blanket.
Over the blanket.
Yeah, that was a phrase that they would have used in kind of North Tipperary. They were over the blanket children.
Oh my God,
you know.
almighty.
But it's just a different society.
And just before I go, what you referred to there, that kind of that snobbishness and that class distinction, is that largely gone?
I'd like to think that we think it is, but I would guarantee you that if you scratch the surface with a few people, if they get half a chance, they'll let you know that they're, you know, tuppence halfpenny bit ahead of tuppence, like, you know.
Old money, you know.
People tell you, like, you know, it's actually a funny thing in society that, you know, people are happy to have little as long as they have a little bit more than somebody else, you know, which is it's a very sad reflection on people. You know, I never care about what somebody else has as long as it doesn't affect me. I'm quite happy for people to get on in life, do their best. But you're dead right. It didn't matter how intelligent you were. It didn't matter, you know,
matter at all.
whatever.
No.
If you were from the wrong side of the town, you were let know you were from the wrong side of town on a regular basis.
Right. I must leave it there, sadly, because I'd love to tease that out even more. But we must do it some other time. Thanks to Liam Brown, to Joe Leahy, and to Colette Roach. That's it from me for today. Thanks to Leanne, who produced. Ellie looks after content. Stephen's on the way with the Time Tunnel. It is just after 12, and Pat Murphy is at the news desk. Morning to you, Pat.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.